your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Welcome into a Monday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Mr. Anthony Hartwig, decked out in the Wendy's and Kansas City patriotic gear.
Yeah, this is the July 4th hat from a while ago, actually, probably like 2013.
All right.
And this is the Wendy's Classic, which is a softball tournament in Ashland that happens in the spring for high school sports.
All right, lots of stuff that this past weekend. Kind of a bad weekend for sports. Corona lifting its ugly head in a lot of different places. Unfortunately, still no resolution in baseball, nor do we probably expect one anytime soon. The National Football League is pretty much going to cancel the Hall of Fame game, which is a prelude to a lot of things that could very well happen depending on just how severe this uprising of COVID-19 is. Talladega rained out yesterday. Bubba Wallace, I'm going to be rooting like hell for him today based on what happened after the race and what they found in his garage.
I missed that. Give me an update. What
he one of the pit crew guys for Bubba Wallace found a noose in his in his area. Now to keep everyone kind of updated, there are multiple garages scattered all throughout each of the racetracks. And I think it's like 4 or 5 teams per garage. So you're basically looking at 8 or 9 garages, depending on how many people are or how many drivers are in each NASCAR event. Every racetrack has 8 or 9 garages, and like I said, 5-ish per team because the garages are pretty huge. And apparently, Bubba Wallace, in his portion of the garage stall, there was a noose found in there, just completely, utterly ridiculous. NASCAR's investigating, just a mess, and they rained out yesterday. They raced today, and you know it's pretty serious when the GOAT of stock car racing, Richard Petty, who's in his 80s and probably shouldn't be anywhere near public because he is a candidate for COVID-19. You know it's pretty serious when the GOAT comes down to Alabama and says, I want to be with my guy and give him a hug because this is utter BS. I'm rooting for him today.
it's that's kind of scary because, I mean, it's a noose, but that means someone just walked into his garage.
Yeah.
Which is like eye-popping on security issues because it could have been something a lot more serious than just a novelty noose. I mean, it could have been like a godforsaken a bomb or something. Just walk into his garage and leave something on the floor.
It was weird, and the garage is off limits to the fans in the COVID-19 world. So it's obviously either someone broke into the garage or it was an inside job. And if it's an inside job, boy, does NASCAR look awful in this point. But if they nail this person, when they nail this person, because you got to believe there's security cameras all over the place. When they nail this person, kick his ass out of NASCAR forever.
If it's an inside job.
If it's an inside job.
Even if it's not. If it's a fan, then you're not allowed at any NASCAR event ever.
Not only that, but I hope they arrest him. It just
breaking and entering,
breaking and entering, amongst other things. Yeah, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. The Belmont went without a hitch, and if you listen to Seabass, he had said 8-9 was going to be the top two finishers, and sure enough, Tiz the Law won by about 4 lengths over the 9 horse.
Listening to even the experts on the pre-race show that NBC had, it was pretty obvious that those 2 horses were pretty much head and shoulders above the field, and it was going to take something going wrong for that not to happen.
Yes, so the 8, Tiz the Law, won the race. The 9 finished in second, and I believe it was 8-9-3-10 on the Superfecta. And we had talked about the 10 horse being on the extreme outside. I didn't think he would finish in the top 4. In a 10 horse field, that really didn't play that big of a deal. So he wound up finishing in 4th place.
And the 6 horse was, running really well for a lot of the race. He kind of fell back in the last stretch, but it was looking like he might be a contender, and his odds were like 23-1.
Yeah.
So that was something that raised my eyebrows a little bit.
Yeah, Farmington Road, I thought he was going to be okay, and as it turns out, Farmington Road finished 9th in a 10-race field. So we kind of put way too much chips onto Farmington Road, and it's on to Churchill, and for the second leg of the Triple Crown later in the summer. I can tell you right now, and as we said, there were 3 horses that were injured that were not part of the Belmont. I'll be very curious to see if those 3 horses run when we get to the Belmont, and if they do, Tiz the Law won't be the favorite.
No, he won't be, but Seabass made a good point. If Tiz the Law did not win the Belmont, it would have been a really anticlimactic Kentucky Derby, because he was the only horse in that field that had a legitimate, you could even discuss him winning the Triple Crown. So if he didn't win the Belmont, then your chances of a Triple Crown are already over before you get to the Kentucky Derby, which usually is the first race. So it would have been, he said it would have been the most unclimactic Kentucky Derby in recent history.
Yeah, and it's weird already that you have a 1 1/8 in the Belmont instead of a 1.5 miles. It was weird that you have the Belmont first instead of last. So, I mean, welcome to the world of COVID-19 where everything is upside down. Senior softball players, and Anthony, I know you were hoping to get this thing in today at Liberty Township Park.
It's postponed.
It's already been postponed.
To Wednesday.
All right, postponed to Wednesday. We can talk a little bit about this during the course of today's broadcast. We'll also obviously talk about it on Wednesday. The Bill Cefera Fast Pitch Classic that will be held Wednesday at Liberty Township Park. You talk about a who's who list of softball players, and a lot of these softball players are going Division I.
Yes,
there's some pretty impressive talent on this roster.
It's a jam-packed roster of absolutely great talent from in the circle, as well as lineups in offense as well. So it'll be fun on Wednesday when they have it. It's going to be 1 9-inning game. Everyone should get in at bat. It'll be a fun ride.
10 of these kids are going to be going to YSU, which is a good thing. Youngstown State, they don't have to go very far to recruit some pretty good talent. If you steal the phrase from Coach Tressel, now President Tressel, the 100-mile radius around the state of Youngstown, and you plant the flag in Youngstown, baseball and softball, if you do the 100-mile radius around Youngstown, you can get some pretty damn good players for your particular program.
Yeah, Brian Campbell does a really good job of recruiting this area, and sometimes he even steps upon a gym that could go and play in Power 5 legitimately, and he snatches them up because of either they get overshadowed by other players or they're on a lower exposure to travel team. I think Sophie Howell from Champion, one of those girls that YSU grabbed that can legitimately compete in a Power 5 conference. If she went there, she could play in the Big Ten. But she was on the same team as Allison Smith, so she got a little bit overshadowed. And Youngstown State's going to have a really good pitcher next year in Sophie Howe.
Yeah, that's a fantastic get for YSU. Make no mistake about that. We haven't talked Phantoms hockey in quite a while. Andrew Goldman is going to be joining us in about 5 minutes. He's the president of the Youngstown Phantoms. Phantoms had their season cut short, like every other sport, in the late winter, early spring. And it's been a while since we caught up with Andrew Goldman. We need to find out, A, what's going on with the Phantoms in this offseason, and B, how long of an off-season are we going to be dealing with? Again, with the rise over the weekend of COVID, which really put the clamps on the National Football League, college football, and Major League Baseball specifically. And obviously, we go further down the calendar with the Phantoms opening up in October, still a ways off, but then again, you have to get these kids in. You have to get them in the training camp in September. So that's one less month. And here we are in late June. You're talking about 2+ months from the start of training camp. So we will talk with Andrew Goldman in about 4 minutes, and we'll get his take on the state of hockey in Youngstown with the Youngstown Phantoms. He'll be coming up at 12:15. TV 21 Sports Director Dana Balish will check in. We'll have a local look at the sports, and again with the Bill Cefera Fast Pitch Classic jumped back to Wednesday. We'll talk a little bit about that. B-League Baseball played this weekend, although last night the late games pretty much canceled across the board thanks to Mother Nature and the lightning show that she put on before the rains came.
But looking at the weekend forecast, they got off pretty easy because it was supposed to rain all weekend, and they got all the games in on Friday, I believe, and then all the games in on Saturday too.
Yeah, it was a solid weekend. It ended on a crappy note with, again, a lot of lightning. I was the late game on field 3, and we got to about the second inning, then lightning started, had to delay it for half an hour, then 4 consecutive shots of lightning, and again, by rule, 30 minutes clock is set back every time you see lightning. So then after the 4th shot of lightning, 5 minutes after the 4th shot of lightning, it started raining, and I just looked over at the grounds crew guy, and he said, yeah, this isn't going to work, so we canceled again. And hopefully we'll be able to play that game or pick up where they left off or start the game over. I don't know how the rules are going to be with that. All right, we're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we will chat with the president of the Youngstown Phantoms, Andrew Goldman. What is the state of hockey in Youngstown? Are the Phantoms going to be coming back? Well, it's a question that probably won't be answered immediately, but we will certainly have the update from the guy in charge of the Youngstown Phantoms. Phantoms president Andrew Goldman joins us next. It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top
More
story
experienced
tonight.
reporters
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley
afternoon.
in Niles,
We are
one
here in
Triangle Valley
Youngstown, right
business.
because you expect
important for everyone. No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County
Before
Court.
they become life-threatening.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Andrew Goldman, and joining us on the YSN hotline, the president, the man in charge of Youngstown Phantoms hockey. He is the president of the Youngstown Phantoms. He is Andrew Goldman. Andrew, how are you today?
I am doing just fine, Ron. Always great to catch up with you, so making it a better day.
Absolutely, and in fairness, we need to say this because your phone may cut out at any time because you're on the dreaded Pennsylvania Turnpike, and they have more dead spots than any turnpike or any road that I've ever been on. So hopefully we'll be able to keep you during the entire conversation. If not, we'll take a time out and then reestablish connection. Andrew, obviously the 2019-2020 season, disappointing in that the season did not have a finale. COVID-19 proved to be the finale for a lot of sports, including the United States Hockey League, and a darn shame, but update everyone on the off-season right now at Cavelli Center and in Youngstown with the organization.
Yeah, your timing is good for this call. We just recently, and when I say recently, I mean Thursday and Friday, had our annual or semi-annual Board of Governors meetings. Like everything else these days, it was on Zoom instead of in person. And obviously, COVID-19 and what that means for next season was a big topic of conversation. And I'm not gonna share anything groundbreaking. I think as everybody has seen over the last 120 days or so, things change by the day. And I think everybody's aware of that, but part of, right? The focus was on player safety, the safety of our staff and hockey operations folks, and of course, fan safety. And to that end, there's a lot of moving targets. But we have our main camp scheduled just outside of Pittsburgh. Couple days of July and the first couple days of August. As of right now, everything is a go with that, which is fantastic. That camp, Ron, will essentially determine who we bring into Youngstown in early September to finalize our roster for the upcoming season.
Andrew Goldman.
Go ahead, sorry, Ron.
I'm sorry. You finish your thought, Andrew, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and that leads into your question about season, and essentially what that means is the Fall Classic in Pittsburgh is scheduled for the last weekend of September. Currently, all 16 USHL teams prepare to play 2 games there. That is currently on track to occur, and then we roll into a 62-game schedule thereafter. Clearly, we have contingency plans, but our hope is to do what we need to do and to work with the local health officials to allow us to have a full season next year.
Andrew Goldman, president of the Youngstown Phantoms, joining us on the YSN hotline. Andrew, I know Major League Baseball had a breakout in both Florida and Arizona, and it forced Major League Baseball not only to close down all of the spring training sites, but to have every single site, quote, deep cleaned. Obviously, with kids coming in Cranberry, which is the gorgeous setup that you guys have just outside of Pittsburgh, That site, that facility, the facility in Pittsburgh and the Cavelli Center. Are you guys going to be, quote, deep cleaning those facilities prior to training camp and prior to the start of the USHL season?
Yeah, and again, I think all of those things continue to evolve in terms of information coming out daily as to the best way to protect the players. You know, every effort will be made by the Phantoms to keep, you know, what are 16 to 20-year-olds right in the USHL, right? So young men as safe as we possibly can be, and that's, you know, taking temperatures before anybody is walking in the building, and certainly making sure that we're cleaning in a way that is different than it was before, even though that was a major focus, you know, prior to any of this happening. And we're certainly going to work with the folks at JAC Management and Cavelli Center to make sure that they're doing the same from a building perspective. And I think the fact that the professional sports have not yet been able to figure out a way to sort of pull the trigger on making this a go just lets us know how challenging this is.
You know, this has been a crazy couple months for sports, and as a team president, I'm wondering what your kind of day-to-day work has been throughout these last couple months and how it's kind of been so drastically different than what your normal routine would be.
It's a great question, and it certainly has been drastically different, right? The silver lining to this for me is somebody who lives outside of DC and spends a tremendous amount of time away from my family in Youngstown. I've gotten to work from home mostly, which has been nice. But like everything else, we've had to cut staff to some degree. So from a role and responsibility perspective, for me, it's meant wearing, numerous hats. And we've been working with our sponsors who, we're trying to help get through this time as best we can. We've been in constant contact with our season ticket holders, fans, social media engagement. We've done training videos so that, people can stay active even while gyms and things of that nature are closed. And then, going back to the previous conversation, there's been a tremendous amount of time focused on what next season looks like, what are going to be the challenges, both as they relate to, what our game environment looks and feels like, what player safety looks and feels like, and how we adjust, revenue and expense forecasting, given the uncertainty of the answers to the previous questions.
President Andrew Goldman of the Youngstown Phantoms joining us on the YSN hotline. COVID-19 aside, Andrew, I've been to the Cavelli Center more than a handful of times to watch Phantoms hockey. For those that have never seen Phantoms hockey, let me just say right now, it's a solid brand of hockey. And I'll go so far as to say we have built up quite an NHL alumni. This brand of hockey is definitely a stepping stone into the minor leagues and the upper minor leagues of hockey. And as I mentioned, a number of kids that played for the Phantoms have jumped on and gone into the National Hockey League. It's a solid product that you have, Andrew.
Yeah, I think it's, I shouldn't say I think, it's the best junior hockey league in the United States. It is literally the best of the best for anybody who wants to play college hockey. So at a minimum, our players will go on to play major Division I college hockey. And as you said, we are working on quite the list of both NHL and American Hockey League alumni. Actually had the pleasure of having lunch with Sam Annis, who was with Youngstown for 2 years, who just literally, their season was cut short, but just led the American Hockey League in goals this past year. And I think we'll likely get a shot at the NHL next year, and it's really exciting. Kyle Connor is an NHL All-Star, spent 3 years in Youngstown, I believe, and the list goes on and on. So anybody who doesn't understand, I'm trying to think of another sport comparison, because hockey's a little bit different, but you think about Ohio State football, and if those kids went somewhere for a year or 2 or 3 years before they went to play for Ohio State, the Youngstown Phantoms and or another USHL team would be the equivalent.
We've talked about it before on the show. Hockey is a sport that if you don't watch live, you can't really get the full experience of it. What kind of things do you take pride in that Phantoms do in in your live games, and the experience that you bring to the fans in a normal circumstance, of course?
Yeah, it's one of the things. So this was my second year with the Phantoms, and one of the things that we really took a hard look at was exactly that. It's the fan experience, it's the engagement, and the hockey speaks for itself. There's nothing we needed to do to change the quality of hockey, but what we did want to do was to create the whole sort of entertainment experience. So whether that was intermissions, whether that was engagement with players before, not before so much, after games, whether that was timeout games, locker room tours, things of that nature that really sort of gave people an opportunity to have an all-around experience, incredibly affordable, and really sort of allowed for people to understand exactly what you said, which is hockey live is as exciting as anything. And for people who don't really sort of follow hockey a lot, getting that sense on TV is sometimes difficult. So, it's been great, and the connection to YSU this year was fantastic as well. We did some things on Saturday nights, which were focused on YSU students to some degree, and it was really successful. So having that interaction this year was a blast, and certainly hopeful that we'll be back in a place where we can do more of it this upcoming season.
Never too early to talk promotions, and I know you guys had some of your promotions halted due to COVID-19. Andrew, if you guys have some promotions that are already locked in for 2020-2021, now's the time to talk. The upcoming promotions in the upcoming USHL season at Cavelli.
Yeah, so I would say nothing's locked in just based on the way the season ended. But I'm hopeful certainly that we'll be able to duplicate the consistent messaging that we had last year. Friday nights was really aimed at families. It was family fun night. We did a $5 ticket for kids 12 and under, which included a free popcorn, a free Pepsi, and a free cotton candy. So can't get much better value than that. And then Saturday nights we flipped the script a little bit, and it was $1 hot dogs and $1 beers, and made for a really, really enjoyable weekend of hockey. Our attendance was up almost 46% year over year, last year versus the year before. So people were definitely getting the message, and the weekend that was canceled, the first weekend of the season that was canceled, we were really teed up to have our best weekend in the 2 years that I was there. So we're excited that the messaging is getting across. We're excited about the product that we're putting on the ice, and really, really are looking forward to getting back out there.
First, let me say, I'm sure the parents loved free cotton candy, giving their kids that are 12 and under just pure sugar. That was probably amazing.
It's got a mixed bag, but by and large, I will say this: the parents were allowing the kids to get that cotton candy. So, hopefully they burned off the sugar rush while they were in the building.
What are your hockey roots in your life, and what drew you to kind of being where you are now?
It's funny. I definitely am not did not take a traditional path to sort of my role. I was a commercial real estate developer for many years, and always passionate about the game of hockey. My father's cousin actually brought the Washington Capitals to Washington D.C., the NHL team, and owned them until, I'm going to guess, maybe sometime in early 2000s. So I grew up around the game, but Washington was not a place where youth hockey was a big deal. And I didn't grow up playing any kind of serious hockey. But I stayed engaged. I played club hockey in college and played adult after that. And then I have a son who was born in 2003, who has been completely involved in the game at a high level. And through those relationships, I became friendly with the current managing partner, I should say, of the Phantoms. And through that relationship, he asked me to come in and take this role, and it's been a fantastic 2 years. So, again, my job is more on the business side, less on the hockey side. Brad Patterson is our general manager and head coach, and he handles the hockey operations side of the equation. So it makes for a really good team.
Andrew, before we let you go, the ice, normally it gets melted before the summertime, and you spend the summer with the Covelli Center basically ice-free. When do you guys expect to lay down the ice? And talk a little bit about, I don't know, maybe a possibility of kids or adults having a skate after home games.
Yeah, so the first question is the expectation, and it would follow our traditional path, is that players will report Labor Day weekend, and the ice will go down somewhere. I said Memorial Day weekend. Labor Day weekend. The ice will go down sometime between Labor Day weekend and sort of the second week of September. That's the traditional schedule. In terms of post-game skates, I think we did 4 or 5 last year. Ron, it's something that we absolutely look forward to. We do post-game skates. We do autograph sessions after games. As I said, we do locker room tours. I'll be honest; those are going to be, some of the last things that come back, just given the environment that we're in. So I think that's unfortunately a little bit in the wait and see mode. Just getting back to the health of players and fans and sort of understanding the realities of social distancing.
Thinking outside the box, and the thought just occurred to me, I know that figure skating is not on the minds of a lot of people, but there is a niche in figure skating, and well, let's be honest, the Covelli Center holds about 5,000 or 6,000. Has there been any talk of a possibility of not having the Nationals here, but having something leading up to the Nationals being held at the Covelli Center in Youngstown?
So the answer is I have not heard of anything. Probably more of a Eric and Jordan Ryan question than an Andrew Goldman question, but I think it would be, obviously we have the ice. They've taken advantage of having the ice with, Disney on Ice shows and things of that nature. So there's certainly no reason that couldn't happen if the desire was there from both the building as well as the folks who I'm not even sure what the National Figure Skating Organization is, but things of that nature. I think it would be really, really interesting. What I will say is that you're probably competing. I think those shows tend to draw north of 6,000, so we may have some size limitations there, but certainly not my area of expertise.
All right, you owe me a Zamboni ride or a Zamboni owner for a game, and I don't think I want to be in charge of doing the Zamboni. Lord knows your rink would get destroyed if I did that, but I would love to catch a ride and ride shotgun with the guy in charge of the Zamboni, and maybe have a live interview on YSN in the process.
Would love to do it, Ron. You again, as soon as we're allowed to do that, you are locked and loaded. And I've also talked about taking Zamboni driving classes, and I've decided that that's probably got more downside than upside. So I haven't done it yet either.
Yeah, I think the walls of the Cavelli Center, the dashboards would be in serious jeopardy if I ran one of those bad boys. And Lord knows you don't want to pay for any damages of that nature. So I'll just ride shotgun and be happy with that.
There you go. You and me both.
Andrew, always a pleasure. And fingers crossed, I really hope that we can get some hockey at Cavelli Center. It's a fantastic venue. As I've mentioned a million times over, if you don't see hockey live, you're doing yourself a serious misjustice. It is the best sport to see live, hands down, not even close. And I have become a big-time hockey fan and absolutely love the Phantoms and the organization, and hopefully the attendance continues on an upward climb this year.
We always appreciate the support, Ron. Thank you, and happy to jump on and help anytime, and looking forward also have my fingers crossed and looking forward to a great season.
As we get closer to hockey season, we're going to get you on a weekly basis. All right, brother?
Looking forward to it.
All right, man.
Forward to it.
Appreciate it.
If you need anything.
Safe journey, okay? Safe journey back to D.C. All right, Andrew Goldman, the president of the Youngstown Phantoms, joining us on YSNLive.com. Yeah, I will not partake in driving the Zamboni because I have this image, not the image, but I have this thought of a dasher board and the Zamboni going right through it, and I'm like, no thanks.
My content director mind, though, is spinning, seeing Ron Potesta taking Zamboni classes or taking Zamboni lessons on YSN. That'd be fun.
Oh, I think that could be arranged. And let's face it, the Poe Nose shirts, Poe Nose Zamboni.
Right?
Let's be honest. I think that this could be pretty cool. I'm just saying, right now, I'll ride shotgun on the Zamboni. That is a fascinating thing. When you see the Zamboni laying down a new sheet of ice every end of the period, you get the one or two Zambonis running around the rink and laying down new ice. It's really cool how they do that.
It's also a really fun word to say. Zamboni.
Sounds Italian.
Yeah.
That's why
that's why you're interested in it.
Absolutely. And, I support everything that ends in a vowel. There you go. That's Zamboni. It's right up there with ravioli, spaghetti.
Zamboni.
Zamboni. That's a Signora Potesta riding the Zamboni. It's a stupido. 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. Coming up at 1 o'clock, we will hear from TV21 sports director Dana Balish, and we will get the latest on this past weekend in sports. Plenty of B-League action. Again, the late games on Sunday were kind of a casualty based on Mother Nature's lightning show and then the rain that she put down in Struthers about 8:30, which kind of set back the last of the Sunday night games in fields 1 through 3, but still a quality weekend of B-League baseball.
Yeah, and we had a lot of great performances as well. A couple of really good pitching performances. We're starting to see a couple more, 3-2, 2-1, 3-1 kind of scores than we did earlier in the week. We're starting to see these pitchers kind of get into rhythm a little bit and have good outings. But then we're also starting to see, there are plenty of guys that had great days at the plate, and we're starting to see the batters start to kind of find the rhythm too. So I think this second week of Class B coming up now is going to be starting to, the rust is going to start to fall off. We're going to start to see some really good baseball.
I was umpiring 6 games in the first week, and 1 game was not finished. And that was the last game that I did, Astros and Roth Brothers, 14U. That game was not finished due to Mother Nature. 4 games were time-related, to where 2 hours came and went, and the games weren't finished. And 1 game was finished, but it was a 4-inning, 15-run victory in the first of the doubleheader on Sunday. The 1 game that wasn't finished, or that was part of the 2-hour time limit, was a 7-inning tie.
Yeah.
And
that was between Roth Brothers.
I think it was Roth and Whiting.
And I had.
I know I had a 14U game that was 3-3.
Well, and then there was another 16U game between Roth Brothers and Avalanche on Field 3-2. We talked about it off the break.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you did that one, but
no, I did the 14U game on Field 2.
That ended in a 7th-inning tie too, and the Avalanche scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 7th to tie the game, and then either the clock ran out or they got the final out, weren't able to play the 8th. Either way, kind of a tough thing because they gave up 2 in the top of the 7th to go down 5-3. And then answered with 2 in the bottom of the 7th, and it was a 5-5 tie after 7 innings.
And it just, again, in the real normal world, you don't have tie games in baseball. Right. You have extra innings, and you go from there.
But we've said it before. This world is it's
upside down.
It's the Bizarro world.
Yeah.
From Superman fans. So
it is a very different brand of baseball that's being played. And again, if Major League Baseball is played, they are talking about having tie games, which, again, weird because, in baseball and recently in hockey, hockey did have tie games. If you played in overtime and nobody scored, it was a tie game. Many years ago, you didn't even play in overtime. If it was a tie game in regulation, that means both teams had 1 point in the standings, and there you go. They did overtime hockey, and then if you didn't have a score in the overtime, then it was a tie ball game. Recently, they've gone to the penalty shots, which I think is an exciting brand of hockey.
Do you remember? 2018 Olympic hockey. It was women's hockey. The gold medal game between USA and Canada came down to penalty shots. Probably the most exciting hockey I've ever watched. Because everything was on the line. It came down to penalty shots. And some of the moves that those girls did to kind of fake out a goalie and get a goal, unbelievable.
Yeah, now, in that particular aspect, I understand the excitement level, but I just want to have overtime hockey.
Right.
And just go in
you don't want
playoff rules, Stanley Cup playoffs, where you don't use the goalies to be the reason why you lose a ball game. You don't want to go. You don't want to go into that realm where you just continue to play 20 minutes of hockey. First team that scores, game is over. And if you go 20 minutes without scoring, then you'll take a timeout and you'll go into a 5th period. I'm good with that kind of hockey, but in today's landscape, you're talking about having tie games in baseball. I umpired the game on Field 2, the 14U game, and it wound up being a 3-3 tie, and everyone's like, we want to play the 8th inning. And I just threw my arms up and I said, guys, I'm sorry. I want you guys to play an 8th inning. If it were up to me, you guys would play an 8th inning. But the rule is here for a good reason right now.
I think hockey does something really, really well that brings in a lot of viewers, and you alluded to the shootout.
Yeah.
But they go through the point system. So if you're in a shootout and you win the shootout, you get an extra point. If not, you still get points because of the tie.
You get 1 point because of the tie.
And two for the win. I think if baseball was able to do that, and you go to the international rules or the Texas shootout, however you want to call it, that if you go to extra innings, you still get a point or some kind of something for it. I think there's a lot more advocates for the tie. You know what I mean? I think it'd be cool because then the strategy becomes a little bit different. Because what we're seeing right now in the Class B League is the strategy of playing for the tie. Going out, making a pitching change with 1 out in the 6th inning. Come on. Like, we all see through it. We all understand it. Everybody there, other than maybe a mom reading People magazine, is understanding what you're doing. And then actually turned around on one of the teams yesterday in the early set of games that we did, where they were trying to buy some time. The next inning, the other team scored 5 or 6 runs, and then they bought some time till the game was over. But the time easily could have been called. Now, what's bothersome, Ron, and I'll tell you this for your brethren in blue, is umpires asking for the time constantly. Like, there was an umpire yesterday that asked for the time, and there was 48, 49 minutes left.
Yeah.
Come on. Just worry about the game. Let them play the game. Somebody will stop you whenever there's people there with coaches should be responsible for it. Ultimately, umpires can have. Are you guys allowed to carry your phones on you? And
I have my phone on me at all times.
And you start the alarm.
Yeah. What I've done, and thankfully any game that I've been in, we have never had, hey, how much time is left? Because I tell everyone 1 hour in, I go, gentlemen, we're 1 hour in, and then that's it. At the first game, I think we said 40 minutes left, 20 minutes left, 10 minutes left. Then I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that.
Because you're opening the door.
Because you're opening the door for people to do shenanigans, and you don't want shenanigans. So I looked at the umpires will get together and we'll say, okay, who's in charge of the game time? We know first pitch, that's when the game starts. Yep. So recently, and again, I've only done 6 games, I think in the last 4 or 5 games, as soon as the first pitch was thrown, you look at the clock, 6:58, gentlemen, first pitch, 6:58. That gives everyone, okay, now we know where our parameters are, and this is how we're going to do this. And then at 7:58, 1 hour in, gentlemen, 1 hour in. That's the last time you hear from me. Until 8:58, and then I'll say, ball game.
Now, I do understand it's the umpire's discretion to, if it's 8:58 and it's the middle of an at-bat and the tying runs at third base, or it's the umpire's discretion to finish that particular at-bat or whatever it is to call the game. So I do like that end of it, but I want to remind people, because we have been a little bit tough on the time limit because we're not used to it, and we don't necessarily like it because that's...
I can't stand it.
But I will say this.
But it's necessary.
It is. We have baseball. And talking to Scott Rourke, he doesn't have a vote in any of this. So when people point the finger, anybody, whether it be a fan, a player, a coach, a media person, you point the finger at Scott Rourke, he didn't have a vote in this.
No.
He was unbelievably just able to get people to the table to say, let's play baseball. And we're playing baseball. So if your biggest bitch in the world is that we're playing baseball but there's a time limit on it, let's revisit the past 3 months and figure out, don't we have bigger things that we could worry about, and aren't we glad that we're just playing sports? That's my big thing.
Thank God we're playing sports, because it just the psyche of this area and throughout this country, the psyche of the sports fan throughout this country has been severely damaged. And Lord knows it's going to get damaged even more. The National Football League has pretty much said, we don't know what the hell's going on. The Hall of Fame game is in all likelihood going to be canceled, and that could be a prelude of a lot of stuff to go forward. When we sat back 4 months ago and said, all right, football has all kinds of time they can come up with a plan. Well, that all kinds of time is now, you have no time left.
Well, they're also, let's put this in perspective, they're also watching baseball to see what baseball does, and, just like everybody else.
Yeah, and nobody should be taking any notes from that organization because it's being run like a third-rate business.
Well, and that's my point of all of this, is if you're going to sit there and throw tomatoes at any commissioner in baseball, it should not be the guy that actually put our kids on the field. It should be the D-bag that's sitting, what is it, New York and for baseball, that hates baseball. He hates the player. He's actually fanning the flames for the players and pissing off the guys he works for. He is the worst commissioner in history.
I never thought anyone could be worse than Bud Selig.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, and Bud's like, thank God that this guy came around. Otherwise, everyone would still be thinking of the stupid stuff that I did.
If we were allowed to have statues in America anymore, Bud Selig would have one after Rob Manfred was
Oh,
home.
God, no.
That's how bad Manfred is. And it irks me mostly because he's not a baseball guy. He's a lawyer. And that's okay because Adam Silver over in the NBA is a lawyer. But Adam Silver is doing a better job with PR because he's supporting the players, supporting the owners. And then you have Manfred that is just pissing everybody off, and he's terrible with PR.
Yeah. If I want a litigator, Rob Manfred's my guy. If I want a litigator, because the guy is very good as an attorney, as a litigator. He is one of the best.
Congratulations.
But as a commissioner,
get the hell out of here,
dude. You suck.
Yeah.
I mean, you are awful. Horrible, awful. I can't even begin to say how awful he is, and it's to the point. And I said this on Friday, and I had to make sure that I took my blood pressure before, because these days it's just driving me nuts. I don't care now if they play another game
and
this year.
Quinn did a fantastic vlog for us on YSN about, do you want baseball back? Do you not want baseball back? Do you even care? And I think that's kind of where everybody is right now. Like, we've moved on.
Yeah.
If you wait long enough, the boat will miss you. You'll completely miss. You'll miss the boat, I guess. It's like having a great plane ticket. It's a one-way trip, beautiful, and then you miss the plane. Like, baseball had every opportunity to lead the nation and to be America's and the world's game, and Rob Manfred. That's all you got to say.
Tony Clark also, Tony's a good guy, and I had an opportunity to bend his ear for 15, 20 minutes at the All-Star game, and I came away with that talk with Tony in two things. Number one, he's not great at what he does, which, unfortunate, but he's getting better, but he's still not great at what he does. They took a serious step down from the last president of the Major League Baseball Players Association, but he's getting used to everything. And the second thing, and probably the most important thing that I took away from this, there is a severe distrust and borderline hatred that Tony Clark has for Rob Manfred and for the owners of Major League Baseball, and that spells disaster.
Well,
and we're seeing it right now.
And we're seeing it, and I believe we talked about it a little bit. This virus gave the opportunity to see it 12 months earlier than we should have.
Sure.
And they're taking advantage of the situation right now. I think the talks are more next year than they are this year. I really do. I think whoever wins this conversation has less leverage than the other moving into 2021. And I think both sides know that. So they're both like, oh, we'll give this much. No, it turned into we want this, and now it's like, well, you should have it. No, you should have it. No, you, like,
yeah.
Come on. The baseball players trying to leverage themselves as the good guys. Let us know when and where. They let you know when and where.
Yeah, and you
said
you pissed
no.
on it.
Right.
So and then you have the owner saying, "Well, we'll do this." In baseball, it's just both of these guys, both of these sides are remarkably greedy. Listen, you can pay me $30 million to do pretty much anything, and I'm going to do it. Whether it's for 60 games or 152 or 162, doesn't matter. I'm going to do it. You will, if you love baseball, play baseball. And this, to me, is an opportunity for the minor leaguers and the owners to be like, okay, you overpaid guys don't want to play anymore. Minor leaguers, you're up. Here's the salary. The winner gets more than a trophy, more than a piece of metal. You get an extra $40 million. You want to talk about American Idol? Guess how many baseball players we'll have next week on Sandlot?
The problem with that is they'll forever be rats when they become Major League Baseball players.
Fine.
If they become Major League Baseball players.
And that is where it's at. If.
And I understand from the owner's perspective that would be the best thing to do, because their end game has always been to break up the most powerful sports union in the history of American sports. And Marvin Miller is one of the reasons why the baseball players have the best union. I don't have a problem per se. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a problem. Oh, free agency. Why the hell should you have the right? You make $1 zillion. Well, no, you should have the right. You should have that right to free agency.
Within certain parameters, yes.
You should have the right to once your contract is up, to go somewhere else if you want to. I have no problem with that. Some of the stuff that they've gotten away with, okay, I have a problem with that. But some of the stuff the owners have gotten away with, collusion, not once, twice. They did it 2 years ago. And that'll be proven in a court of law at some point in time, not for the superstars, but for the second, third, and fourth tier players. They screwed those kids.
Well,
and they'll have their day. But my biggest beef came Friday, and you brought this up, DJ. The players sat back and said, put themselves in a corner in a bad way, and I can't believe they said that the arrogance of them saying, anytime, any place, and the owners said,
here it is.
Here it is, bitch. Let's see what you got. And they sat back and said, well, we want 70 games instead of 60.
Who cares?
It's 10 extra games. Now, I understand it's $100 million extra dollars divvied up amongst the players. I get that. But y'all are not taking the pulse of the American public. You guys are so stupid and greedy with everything that you're doing. You're not taking the pulse of the 41 million American workers that don't have a freaking job right now.
They don't care.
Why would you do this? I understand you want to show your power and whatnot. Guess what? And owners and players have not thought about this, because their arrogance is, well, the fans will always come back. I got news for you. If you screw this up to where you don't have baseball in 2020, there are going to be a lot of fans that are going to say, F you and the horse you came riding on. We're never going to another baseball game again.
Disagree. Major League Baseball, you might be right.
No, that's in Major League Baseball. F you and the horse you came riding on. I'll go support minor league baseball. I'll go support college baseball. I'll go support Sandlot baseball. But you guys making all kinds of money, blow it out your ass.
The bottom part of what you just said is absolutely on point. So when you look at Sandlot baseball, when you look at Little League baseball, when you look at those, will thrive right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And we are thriving because we've seen 3,500 people tune in for a baseball game at Bob Scene Park. It's amazing how hungry people are for sports right now. You talk about NASCAR. You looked at the Belmont Stakes that was run on Saturday, right? And the unbelievable ratings that they brought in with nobody in the building other than the owners and the people, the powers that be, really.
And golf is killing it.
Golf is killing it, and people make the argument, well, you don't really need crowds for golf. That's objective, right? So people like going out and seeing golf and spending time with their family because it is a relaxed sport.
Absolutely,
it is a relaxed sport. You can go pretty much wherever you want and cheer on your favorite golfer, or change it up and go see somebody that's hot. Baseball needs fans. Football needs fans. NASCAR needs fans. But NASCAR is in a whole different world right now because they got themselves into it.
Oh, boy.
They got themselves into a very, very dark place, which it will pass, or this shall too pass, or
it
whatever.
shall too will pass.
Thank you. This shall too will pass. Yeah. So you look at the situation where they're in. America just needs a breath of fresh air right now. And I'll tell you what, if you're out there and you're looking for that piece of Americana, go out to your local ball yard and support the 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, whatever age group that is, that aren't getting paid to play a game, whether it be softball or baseball or they're not playing flag football yet. Anything that's out there right now, support that, because those are the kids that are the future of the game. Those are the kids that are playing it for free, that'll play it for free for a very long time. There's the Warren AA League. I highly recommend people go out and support the older people that are playing the game for fun, for love, for passion. These millionaires and billionaires, to hell with them. To hell with them.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, like, they're not sending you Christmas cards stacked with cash. They're not the ones sending you, that are even willing a lot of times to sign autographs. You want to make somebody's day? Walk up to a 12-year-old with a baseball and have them sign an autograph. Or one of these 16, 18 U's and have them sign an autograph for you. You want to make their world and make them feel important? That's the people. These are the people you need to do that with, because these are the people doing it for free and they want to play at the next level, and they will remember that for the rest of their life. These millionaires in baseball and these billionaire owners who are just strategizing to make more money for themselves and that will ultimately cost the consumer more, it's garbage. They don't care about us.
Now, unfortunately, if you don't have Major League Baseball, I feel for the guys in our industry, specifically the two guys that I consider to be, actually three guys, no, let me take that back one more time, four guys that I consider to be very good friends with. Tom Hamilton with the Indians, Jim Rosenhaus, his sidekick partner, Greg Brown and Joe Block. Four guys that I know very well. Kevin Burkhardt nationally. He has been a friend for a number of years. Pat Hughes has been a friend for 20, close to 15 years in Chicago. I feel for these guys because their livelihood is calling Major League Baseball games. And it's nothing personal to these guys.
Not their fault.
It's not their fault. And if they could speak out, which they can't, and there's a reason why they can't, and we understand and respect that, I know that they just want to broadcast baseball games. That's why when we had Greg Brown on a couple of weeks ago, we said, hey, if you guys don't have baseball and you want to call a baseball game, and let's be honest, Greg's sitting here telling stories about how he's calling a friggin' wiffle ball game and about to have the cops called on him from these kids as parents, because you never know in these days. And it would have been even more hilarious if Greg Brown had I don't know, driven a van that had music that was on the outside. No. I'm just saying. But he wants to call baseball games. That's in his blood. That's
his passion.
That's his passion. That's what he wants to do. So yeah, I mean the invite's going to him. The invite's going to be going to Tom Hamilton and Jim Rosenhaus and Joe Block as well.
Can you imagine?
All of these guys, I'm going to get a hold of them for Joe and Tom and Rosie off the air. I'm going to give these guys an open invite and say, look, if you guys don't do Major League Baseball and you're wanting to call some baseball games Tuesday or Thursday night,
we'll do a freaking GoFundMe. Can you imagine how quickly that would fill up in Youngstown area to have one of those four do a baseball game, and we or all four of them do a baseball game, a doubleheader? We would fill up the hat or whatever you want to call it, pass the hat around Youngstown. Yeah. We would fill that hat up tenfold because people would love it. Think about the moment. It's funny whenever they talk to us and they say, we loved when Ron said this or when Anthony does that. That
multiply that by about 1 million.
It warms my heart.
Yeah.
But if we had any of those four names that you just said, oh my goodness. Like, they would be fighting to play those games.
Oh, exactly.
They would be battling to play those games. And, I mean, yes, the invitation's out there. We'll make sure they get taken care of. I mean, I'm sure that they're not looking for millions of dollars. They're looking for an opportunity to have their name in lights, which we will give them. And when they're looking for an opportunity to do...
Just to call a game.
And to give back a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You know, they've done so much and so well in their own communities, in their own regions, and nationally, that what do you think it'd be like to have 50, 100 people out there shaking their hands or giving them pounds, depending on where you stand on COVID, saying, thank you so much for all you do, and thank you for making my kid's life?
Number one, it would be a great gesture, not just for an industry that needs a gesture. I mean, who was it? About a month ago, was it Tony? Tony and Niles brought up the point, hey, look, if these guys don't want to play in the major league stadiums, might we interest them in doing some barnstorming in the minor league ballparks, specifically Eastwood, where the Scrappers are supposed to be. And by the way, with no Major League Baseball, you're not going to have minor league baseball, so it's not like Eastwood Field's going to be used anytime soon.
Exactly.
If you wanted to do some barnstorming and just have some much-needed PR, positive PR for a sport that is dying for positive PR at this point. If I were in charge of the marketing for Major League Baseball during this time, well, guys, look, you want to screw the pooch and not have the games being played, that's one thing. But y'all better understand, if you guys aren't going to play baseball, you better have a barnstorming tour where get some guys, and it doesn't have to be the superstars, but get some guys to sit back and say, hey, you know what? Let's play a few games and get some fans in, and the sport needs it. Because what's going on between management and the players, you're doing this, and the fans are doing this.
Hey, if somebody's got $100 million just laying around, we'll start our own baseball league.
Well, exactly.
Because I want the players to prove that it's not about the money. Because I keep hearing this, but what's it about then? If it's not about the money, why aren't we on the fields right now? Because I'm sure they
want to be the upper hand in all of this. They want to have the upper hand in the owners.
At the end of the day,
it's about money.
So if it's not about money, if it's really you tell us when and where, I'll tell you when and where. You come to Scene Park, we'll put on a baseball game, and you want to play some baseball and impress some people, and we'll fill up the park at the same time. I won't take a dime of it. We'll put all that money towards the United Way and my good buddy over at Bob Hannon. If you want to throw down, you want to play some baseball and not do it, to all this chatter, we'll take tickets at the gate. We'll play 3 baseball games at Scene Park, 1 on each field, stagger them out there. People can buy, and then we'll give all that money to charity at the United Way here in the Mahoning Valley.
Yeah, and the other thing, look, if the players aren't going to be doing that, then I think that at some point in time, the marketing aspect of it, someone from the organization would probably need to step up and provide some marketing, some much-needed positive reinforcement marketing. Hence the reason in our business, and guys that genuinely love calling baseball games.
Yep.
That's why when Greg was on 2 Fridays ago, or not this past Friday, the Friday before,
right,
we invited him. And I told him after the show, I said, look, I wasn't BSing you, Greg. I said, I want you to come to Scene if you're available, because I know you love this game, and I know that you're dying to call baseball. Our venue is open. Now, it's not Major League Baseball, and you're not going to see the same quality, but broadcasting a game is important. That invitation is going to go out to Jim Rosenhaus. It's going to go out to Joe Block. It's going to go out to Tom Hamilton. It's going to go out to anyone that I have been friends with over the years, even the minor league guys. I'll send an invitation out to anyone and everyone within the realms of professional baseball. I'll call my buddy Kevin Burkhardt up and say, hey, you want to come out here in Youngstown, spend some time, hang out with me, and we call a few games? Great. Now, will they do it? Who knows?
Right.
But at least, hey, look,
it's not
the game needs some positivity in towns that don't have Major League Baseball. You want to spread goodwill instead of the horse shit that everyone's been spreading between players and management where y'all don't want to play baseball over 10 games, which is a drop in the bucket money-wise for both of you, then somebody spread some positivity somewhere. Otherwise, your sport's in serious trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you keep saying the sport's in serious trouble, and I agree with you.
The major league sport.
I agree with you to some extent, but I think we're not going to see it for 10, 15 years because it's going to be the kid that's on, or the parent that's on the fence of signing their kid up for T-ball or keeping it going in baseball, where they look and they turn on ESPN or they turn on whatever here, and they don't see it anymore. And then, well, if you don't see it, you don't want to really do it anymore.
Yeah.
So unless you're a real baseball enthusiast or you played baseball, the casual fan is the one that baseball is going to miss out on. And that's the problem because everybody's battling. You're going to have your professional baseball fans, your professional football fans. Everybody is battling for that that casual fan in the middle, right? And there's no casual fan that likes every single sport. They usually teeter towards one. Hockey is winning. I will tell you that right now.
Yeah, it is.
Hockey is winning. Hockey is defeat because they're doing it with their marketing. They're doing it with their strategy. They're doing it. Hockey is the most exciting playoff system there is. And they're doing it because they weren't afraid to change the game when it wasn't important. We all remember the glow puck. Didn't work out, but they failed forward, right? They tried it. Baseball's not trying things. They keep everything that everybody wants them to do, it's like they look the other way, and we're going to go exactly opposite. We don't like ties in our All-Star game. Okay, no more ties. Well, guess what? Ties are back. Thanks, Rob Manfred. Appreciate that. Bud Selig screwed the pooch, and now guess what? You doubled down on it.
Yeah.
It's stupid. Baseball has every opportunity, and it's like they write down, Dear Diary, today someone told me, and it was a really good idea, but I like my idea better, and I'm smarter than everybody. Love Rob.
Love Rob.
Idiots. We understand, Rob Manfred. You are very intelligent when it comes to legalese. I would love for you to represent me if I had a speeding ticket. I don't want you to tell me about baseball because you don't know it. Maybe you played T-ball. Congratulations. Everybody gets a hit there. The best hitters in baseball hit 300. You, sir, are below the Mendoza line right now.
Yeah.
By far.
And there's no marketing in baseball, which there hasn't been for a number of years.
Trevor Bauer, give him the keys.
And to your point, and it seems like a lifetime ago, but it really isn't. It's 2-3 generations ago. 80 years in the 1940s. And this is change for the negative. The sport of kings, the top 3 sports in the 1940s were in no order: baseball, horse racing, boxing. Horse racing is an afterthought, and the only thing that, frankly, except for the gambling degenerates that hang out at OTBs, and I'm one of them, every now and then, to bet on horses. The reality is horse racing comes down to 3 races: Kentucky Derby, Preakness, Belmont. That's it. Nobody gives a crap about anything else but those 3 races. And even in those 3 races, you're having a hard time putting people in. And if the Triple Crown is thrown out the window by the Belmont, nobody gives a crap about Belmont. Boxing screwed itself many, 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 many years ago with the alphabet of parade of champions, WBC, WBA, IBF, WTF, all the other belts, and they screwed themselves. Those 2 sports are now pretty much irrelevant due to crookedness, poor marketing, and whatnot. Major League Baseball is coming dangerously close to being the 3rd sport to go to the back of the line. And at some point, and I don't want to scare anybody, look, Sandlot will always be there, or at least as long as Major League Baseball is around. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's probably, and it's in the process right now, but unless they get someone who knows how to market this game, who knows how to get the greatest of the personalities of these Major League players out in full force, this game's not going to amount to anything but a regional type of game, which is what hockey is right now. And I can see in the next 10 years hockey going right past baseball because of their marketing.
See, I think, like everything else in life, this is cyclical.
I hope.
So, you named 3 sports, which I agree with you wholeheartedly, ever popular in the 1940s. But I also think that what you're missing is a conversation we've had many times, is any of those 3 sports are way more exciting at where they are being played as opposed to on television. Once radio faded into television, those 3 sports kind of went with it, because football went from being non-popular to popular all of a sudden because it's a gory game. It's a game that is heavy contact. It's a game that it's strength versus strength, speed against speed, all that. Baseball is not. Baseball is a strategy. Horse racing, very much a strategy. It's very much, I mean, you and Seabass educated me on Friday about betting on horse racing, because that's something that hasn't been passed down because it's been looked like this.
Yeah.
Tis, tis, tis.
Yeah.
You got an extra $5, put it in your child's education as opposed to putting $5 and trying to make $100.
Exactly.
Boxing has been a sport that never really was on radio per se. It never got started to what it could have been because it was seen as mama doesn't want you to box. Mama doesn't want you to get your head knocked in.
Yeah.
That's boxing's problem, but all 3 of them had issues when radio transformed into TV. Now that TV is transforming into streaming, I think that opportunity is there. But for baseball will live on because it is a non-contact sport. And I use air quotes because I was a catcher. There's contact on every play.
Oh, sure.
And unless you've been in that situation where you've had a train barreling down third baseline, don't tell me it's a non-contact sport. However, to the most degree, especially the way that the Buster Posey rule's in effect, I would agree with that. It's generally a non-contact sport. We as a society are getting softer and softer as the days go on.
Mm-hmm.
So baseball will come back and be prevalent because mom and dad are going to sign their little Jimmy up for baseball rather than put them in pads and see what happens to them. The longer football goes on and the more and football recognizes this, that's why you're seeing all these tests and things being done. The more injuries during football, especially with the head, the less you're going to want little Jimmy to play. And he's not going to jump in at the 11th grade and decide, hey, I'm going to be an all-star or varsity stud.
Yeah.
He's going to be a better baseball player. He's
Yep.
going to be a better basketball player.
Yep.
You know the sport to really look out for? Lacrosse.
I know that.
Lacrosse is coming, and it's coming fast.
It's interesting you brought that up. I was just drew a blank when it came to lacrosse. I have a cousin who had 3 kids. All 3 of them are out of high school. 2 of them are out of college. His daughter is a D1 lacrosse player. Really, really good lacrosse player. I've never seen this sport until they were doing club lacrosse. I went down for a visit, and I think it was 2009. We were on an off day. We were in Trenton, New Jersey, and my cousin John, one of his kids was playing lacrosse, and I'm hanging out with my cousin. I'm watching this lacrosse game, and I'm like, damn, this is a cool sport. I said, this is a combination of football and hockey.
Yep.
And it's pretty cool. I mean,
Soccer,
I'm surprised that we haven't picked this up in northeastern Ohio. Well, fast forward 10 years, now it's starting to come.
Mooney's got one, yeah.
People are starting to look at this and go, okay, person has this nice little stick with a basket on the end of it. You're throwing a very hard ball, and you're catching it with a stick, and you're flinging it as hard as you can at a goalie that's padded up, in the hockey aspect of it. What's not to like about that?
Listen, I love hockey. I love it. I know you just had Andrew on, and we're working through some things with
phenomenal.
With
it's a
the
phenomenal
fans.
sport.
I will tell you this: the one flaw in hockey is that not everybody can play it. You have to be.
You have to skate.
Incredibly skilled.
Yes.
If you think you're skilled and you one day you feel like patting yourself on the back, slap some skates on and go try to do something. because if you have never done that, you will humble yourself very quickly. So that's why lacrosse is, to me, the most marketable sport, because you take the best of all the popular sports right now.
Yep.
And you forgot to include soccer, because soccer is
you're running.
popular.
Yeah, you're running. You're running.
And most of the time it's the, isn't it the same dimensions for the most part as soccer?
Pretty much the same dimensions.
So you look at that and you go, okay, I like soccer, I like football, I like hockey. If we were to have all three of those and somehow make a baby, you'd have lacrosse.
And the baseball aspect of it, a hand-eye coordination where you have to be able to catch the ball in the basket, not catch it in your hands because that's illegal.
Yep.
And fling the ball to where...
Passing in basketball, I mean, you have every sport.
You have every sport in lacrosse.
It's unbelievable. So when people are always asking me, what's the next sport to watch? What's the next thing YSN's going to... We're going to double down on lacrosse because I feel that it is going to be the biggest. And we've had some conversations with guys that are doing rugby. I like rugby, but that can be more violent than football sometimes.
Yeah, because you're not having pads on.
Yeah.
I mean, and your shoulder takes a beating when you're in the scrum.
You're not lifting any mattresses anytime soon when you're playing rugby.
That's kind of up there with Australian rules football for brutality. And I became aware of Australian rules football in the 80s when ESPN was hard up on trying to get any sport in their infancy, and they put AFL, ARFL, Australian rules football on, and I was like, these guys are friggin' nuts.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Why would you even risk your life doing something like that?
Have you ever met an Australian that you didn't think was just a little bit wonky?
Yeah, off kilter.
Yeah, they're always just a little bit off the beat. So it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, these people, and that's why I kind of disagree, and I hope that somebody calls in and proves me wrong and says, you're wrong about baseball. Baseball is on its way out, because I don't think it is, because prove to me where we're not getting softer every day. We
are.
Continually.
We are.
We're offended by everything. We're always looking out. Nobody can get hurt anymore. If you get a scratch, you have to have surgery, not a Band-Aid. Like, it's going to happen. And baseball's a perfect sport to make the comeback for that because of its limited contact.
Unfortunately, though, if the shenanigans continue on the major league level, what you see on the major league level, it's kind of like Reaganomics. It'll trickle down all the way to the bottom. If the top is in bad shape, everything else is going to start falling down.
Correct.
And look, let me just preface all of this conversation by saying change is a very, very slow process. Let me give you a great example. I was a kid in the 1970s. In the 1970s and early 80s, and I've been hearing it since then, soccer is the next best thing, or the next big thing. I've been hearing this for almost 40 years. And soccer continues to be so low on the totem pole in the United States, mainly because our male soccer program sucks.
Well, listen.
Now, the female program is phenomenal.
It's low on the totem pole for 3 years. And then 1 year.
Well, the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, the World Cup is phenomenal.
But.
And I'm not. People can call me anti-American all you want to.
Anti-American.
Anti-whatever. Anti.
No, you're fine.
I don't root for the United States in the World Cup.
You better watch it.
Because we suck.
Why?
I root for Italy in the World Cup.
Forget that. We don't even qualify for the World Cup.
Well, sometimes we do, and then I'm just like, get these guys out of here and let's bring in the big boys. Because that's where it is. Give me Italy, give me Brazil, give me Germany. The teams that are actually really good at this, get these jokers that suck, get them out of here.
What? Listen, anytime America's on the field, I'm rooting for America. Because that's America.
I'll root for them when it comes to basketball, football, baseball. When it comes to and Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics, I'll root for the United States. When it comes to soccer, we're not good in this for whatever reason.
We've won the World Cup, have we not?
The women have. The men haven't even come close to.
The men haven't.
Yeah, the men haven't even come close to.
I just remember the Sports Illustrated for Kids getting like Alexi Lawless cards in there, and
Now we've had some players.
We've had some guys.
We've had some decent players. Donovan Landon is a solid player.
Does he even play anymore?
No.
That's not good. That's not good if that's your first guy.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, when I think of soccer, I think of our women's program.
What happened to Freddie? What's his name? Freddie. Was it Freddie Aldo? Freddie. I forget. He was like a 14-year-old phenom.
Yeah.
And the future of soccer. And I know he played in MLS. He might still be. I thought he was like the guy. I thought he was the guy for US.
Yeah.
He was the guy that was supposed to be like the Michael Jordan of soccer. And I don't even know his last name. So that tells you how good he is in that realm. But
we're not going to be seeing any Gatorade commercials. Be like Freddie.
No. So let me. Here's something I kind of figured out, and you can tell me if I'm completely off base or not. When you have these people that like these off the beaten path sports, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's like a cult, and they don't respect you. They're like, oh, well, soccer's way more advanced and way more liked than baseball.
Yeah, you have soccer snobs.
Yeah, I just want to know where the proof is. Why do we have to like? It's not cool to like popular things anymore. It's cool to like the unpopular stuff. So when the first time I heard about lacrosse, when we started YSN, you got to do lacrosse. I don't know any of the rules to lacrosse, so we couldn't even broadcast it. That's to this day.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to educate myself on it. I was better off educating myself on lacrosse than I'll ever be at soccer. Because soccer, it is so crazy with the rules, and it's just a long game. Hockey, small, very exciting all the time.
Yep.
Lots of goals.
Yep.
Lots of action.
Yep.
Lots of changes. Always something going on. Soccer,
same 11 guys on the field.
My goodness.
And I still have no idea about a 6-foot rule and all this other stuff. I mean, I'll see the ball, and I'll watch. And it's kind of like the same thing for offside in hockey. If you're past the line before the puck is, it's offside.
You can get your doctorate before one of the games are over.
Yeah, I just look at this and I'm like, okay, I love the fact the clock continues to roll. I do like that.
But then there's some magical god that comes down and hands down minutes on the clock.
Well, that's based on injuries.
It's based on when the clock would have stopped.
But they get injured every other play, and they're faking it.
So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and that's built into the 45 minutes. I'm with you though. I mean, stop the clock when someone's injured, and you won't have those.
When
problems.
the clock hits 0, the game is over. I'm sorry, you're never going to change that in my eyes.
And that's the thing. I mean, it counts up in soccer, so it goes.
You go 0 to 45 in the first half, 46 to 90.
Again, why are we counting up and not counting down?
Right.
Yeah.
Like nobody goes 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Happy New Year!
Yeah.
No, you count down. You always count down. You know what's left on the clock.
I don't know. I learned numbers counting up.
Get him out of here.
1, 2, 3.
Well, no, it's the count from Sesame Street.
A 1, 2,
1 slouch, 2 slouch.
But do you feel like we have a problem that like it's not popular to be popular anymore?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been like that even in the pop culture thing. Like when Star Wars came out, there were the people that love Star Wars, but then because it was so popular, there are those people that just hate Star Wars because it's Star Wars. You know
I've never seen Harry Potter. I'll tell you that.
Not
just because that's personal preference. Like
I saw one episode and I was like,
it's
okay, this is weird, and no, thank you.
I'm with you.
I've never.
Wait, have you even seen one at all?
Harry Potter?
Yeah.
I saw about 30 seconds of it, and I was like,
no.
I'll pass, thank you. My wife loves it. Yeah. Her family loves it. I'm just like, you know what? I'd rather watch an ESPN documentary. That's like, to me, that's my passion. I like to spend my time watching things I like, not just like, this cat's a wizard, and he's doing what with the what? And there's all kinds of different terminology. Like, and then they started their own sport, Quidditch, which actually became a sport. And I'm like, wait a minute.
That doesn't.
It's not real. Like, you can't fly, cat. Like, it's not happening for you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not Elizabeth Montgomery. You're not Bewitched. Get out of the get out.
Wow,
Get out.
you just kicked it way back.
Oh, hey, listen, that was a great show. That was a great show. The thing that bothered me most was the one Darren left and the other Darren came in. I was like, what the hell is this?
I liked I Dream of Jeannie better.
I Dream of Jeannie was good because Barbara Eden was sexy in anything she wore.
Oh, there he just took it. I mean,
no, I'm serious. She just is. It's just. If we're going to talk about TV, I must confess this, and I believe I confessed it one time, so bear with me if I'm repeating. I have not seen one complete start to finish episode of The Office. Not one.
See, that's
I've seen like 10 minutes at a time.
What's the holdup?
And I'm like, okay, this is stupid.
No.
Why? I don't want to see this.
No.
This is
the fact that you highlight I Dream of Jeannie over The Office.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's that was back in the way back in the day. I mean,
is it weird that I can't find anybody? What the hell was
that was Barbara Eden's thing. She, like this, and you had the sound effect, and then she would disappear. So there you go.
The last 30 seconds just went straight.
Yeah, it went straight off the rails.
Wow.
It just did.
We got the genie over here, and whatever the hell noise you just made.
I mean, you are looking in the same way that I look when someone tells me I've never seen The Godfather before.
I've never seen it. I've never seen The Godfather.
What planet do you live on?
You
would love.
I probably would.
You would love it. Now it's long,
but that's the problem. There's three of them.
Yeah, don't watch
the third one. The third one is just
but they're both 2 hours long.
No, they're longer than that.
They're 2.5 at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so
bordering on 3, but it's action, and.
I will say this: if I could give back the time that I've spent watching my wife's movie of the Titanic back and watch The Godfather, I would. But I can't do that. I messed up watching a 3-hour movie, and now, unless you are a superhero or an Avenger, you're not getting any of those times from me anymore. Like, or Star Wars. Like, I get on Star Wars because I've been a Star Wars fan since I was a little kid.
I'm good with Star Wars, and I'm good with the second one. What was the
Star Trek?
No. The trilogy of Star Wars: Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
After that, I don't want to see anything else.
Seen the latest
I like
three?
that.
I don't want to see anything else except for these 3.
I'm of the unpopular people
Don't
that like
be that guy.
I like the prequels a little bit because what the prequels did is they took the political drama and they showed you this is how this world got to this point.
Okay.
And I just kind of like diving into that.
See, all that was a money grab at that point.
I've been looking.
Episode 3, I mean.
Listen, I've been looking for the Jar Jar Binks fan for the longest time.
Jar Jar was
we just found him.
Yeah. I never said I liked Jar Jar. Jar's the one
you said you liked the first 3.
I do like they're good movies.
And that means you have to like Jar Jar.
There are parts of movies that are bad that are still good movies.
Jar Jar Binks fan.
And Jar Jar Binks handed the world over to the Empire on a silver platter and said, here you go. Because he was the one that asked for.
See, all that was a money grab.
Oh yeah,
and I was just like
they wanted to sell a couple plush toys.
Dude, just stop at 3. Just.
But
stop.
That
Please
was
stop
the problem.
At 3.
The problem with that whole thing was it wasn't 3. It was 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
That's the actual. They
but
actually
that was
started
4 years down the road.
A New Hope is episode 4.
Yeah, but that was 15, 20 years after.
But
after the third one.
When it came out,
when he
was
came
supposed
out
to be
with
4,
it,
5,
he
6.
said episode 4. I mean, A New Hope is episode 4.
So was it 1970?
It felt like a money grab to me.
He set himself up to make a prequel series.
Well,
way back in the 70s.
It was the latest ones that were like we were never going to do that, and then they wanted when Disney came involved.
Yeah,
they were like we need to reintroduce Star Wars, and boy, am I glad they did because they finished the story.
Okay,
that was the best thing about the last movie, and I've argued with many people about this. The last movie was the best of them all, the best because it put the perfect bow right on Star Wars.
Yeah, but if there's another Star Wars movie, then you're going to be pissed.
It won't be. There won't be another Star. It won't not the what is it? The Skywalker saga. It'll be someone else. They'll do.
And there might be did you like the write up like the Rogue One?
I did.
Rogue One was really good.
Rogue One ended like a Disney movie never does.
This nerd portion of
nerd alert.
of Running Point is
Did you like
brought
Solo?
to you by comic books and all other things that people, Dungeons and Dragons and all other things that people do because they're freaking nerds.
Hey, Stratocaster, nobody asked your opinion.
Stratocaster
that's
is
from a
Dungeons.
sports perspective.
Stratocaster is Dungeons and Dragons. I mean,
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is.
That absolutely is not.
I don't wanna- we did the research. You're a nerd.
No,
Stratocaster, and anybody that does Stratocaster is officially a nerd.
Listen, all I know is it is in the sports realm. It is in the sports realm.
Okay.
I will gladly take, because it's in the sports realm, I feel like it's still within my bubble of sports. So I'm good with that. Outside my bubble,
What about video
you're
games?
now a nerd.
Video games?
Well, I mean, look, that's the modern thing. I can, I don't relate to the modern thing. You got to understand, I lived in a world where we had Atari and Intellivision, and both of them were...
Pitfall.
Yeah, both of them were kind of, I mean, it was... Intellivision back in the day, Intellivision football was cool. I mean, it was kind of... Now, it's archaic.
Tecmo Super Bowl was cool.
Tecmo Super Bowl from Nintendo was cool, and clearly they had Bo Jackson as a superhero because nobody could tackle him or catch up to him.
I believe today is the day we get to market the Pono shirts.
There you go.
I believe today is the day.
Going right into when we had Andrew Goldman on and put me on a Zamboni with a live
we're gonna
interview
have this whole
with a
series
Zamboni driver
of Ron Batista having lessons in obscure kind of events, and it's going to be the Bonos. It's going to be the Pono series.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
He learns how to drive a Zamboni.
Well,
give me a lacrosse thing and see if I can catch one of those hard balls from someone to catch it in the basket.
It's raining outside.
Yeah, I kind of figured it would be.
It's raining hard outside.
I looked over and it looks like the lights are off and it's pitch black in the office.
That's because we like the lights off.
I knew that.
I kind of hope that my moon roof is closed. And
I hope it is
not
too.
open.
You mean?
Yeah.
Sunroof?
You may want to.
I'll check on that for you.
You may want to check on that.
Is it a button or you got to get in? And...
Yeah, you got to get in, and then there's a button.
We got to get Dana on anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, we do have to get Dana on at some point in time.
Sorry,
so,
Dana.
Yeah, but it is what it is. We're going to take a timeout. On the other end, we will get Dana Balish on. It is a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Stick around.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com. Storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Today in the showers, I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
It is a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. A little late in getting our next guest on. TV21 Sports Director Dana Balish checking in. Dana, how are you today?
Doing well yourself.
I'm doing well. Off topic on sports, we do have a weather situation going on. Apparently, some tornado warning in the area, in specifically Mahoning County, Dana?
Yeah, well, there's a tornado warning until 1:45 in southern Mahoning County, northern Trumbull County. The sirens are going off in downtown Youngstown because it does affect us. Niles, Warren, Youngstown, again, till 1:45. So that is about 6 minutes away.
All right, so let's talk a little sports from the weekend. We were supposed to have softball today. It's been moved to Wednesday. The Bill Cifera Fast Pitch Classic at the Liberty Township Park. Some great representation if you're a fan of YSU softball. 10 kids that have signed on to play softball at Youngstown State University. They will be taking part in the Bill Cifera Fast Pitch Classic on Wednesday at Liberty Township Park. Should be an awful lot of fun.
Yeah, they have, that's been a classic staple, and certainly run with the high school softball players not being able to play their regular season. This was a nice thing they were able to get together, pretty quickly, and it will be a nice thing on Wednesday for these players to play one last game in their high school uniforms.
And when you're putting together something like that, obviously there were a lot of kind of years to kind of put together, not just with the protocol, but getting all these players contacted and getting them to suit up in some short notice over the summer.
Yeah, the softball players that missed out on their high school season, the majority of them play travel ball. So, it's a good thing that they could get into those high school uniforms one last time.
Dana, over the weekend, wall-to-wall B-League action as Scene Park was busy. Fans were coming in, and all kinds of baseball. Now, on the grander scheme, obviously the Major League Baseball can't seem to get its act together. Without Major League Baseball, there's no minor league baseball. Yet it's not really affecting the Sandlots. There's plenty of people that are interested in what's going on in B-League baseball.
Yeah, and obviously that is a good, I guess a good way to, with no national sports going on, if you want to see some amateur stuff in local baseball, I mean, it's nice to go down there and just be outside and experience kids playing baseball, and I think it's really, really good.
Youngstown State University's guard Darius Quisenberry will be making a decision in the next week or two whether to follow his dream and make himself available for the NBA draft or come back for his junior year at Youngstown State University. Anthony and I were talking about this on Friday. I truly believe that DQ needs to come back, not just his junior year, but his senior year as well. Do you get the feeling that Darius is leaning one direction or the other, Dana?
Well, I talked to him last week and found out that he was going to make this decision in a week or two. And my gut tells me he'll be coming back. He's talked to 4 or 5 NBA teams, and that's only going to help him. Help him at YSU because he'll get some feedback on exactly what they want to see, and he'll bring that. I mean, Ron, I would be shocked if he decides to stay in the draft, to be quite honest. In my brief conversation with him, he sounded really good, sounded confident. I think he knows what he wants to do, but he'll tell the proper people first, including Coach Calhoun, and then make that decision public. But I just think my gut tells me he'll be coming back to Youngstown State.
Well, you talk about having the shine off of the program, all of the expectations, and I know we're a long way away from basketball season. The expectations of this men's basketball program at Youngstown State, playing in the Horizon League that now includes Robert Morris and one other team to make it an even dozen. The expectations of the YSU men's basketball program this year, it's pretty high. If Darius were to leave and go to the NBA, boy, that's a buzzkill big time for this program.
Well, and I think you got to look at it practically, Ron. I mean, let's look at it. Is Darius Quisenberry one of the top 60 players in the country? Probably not. So that kind of gives you the answer. I mean, is it worth it to, sign with a team and I just don't see it happening. I think, maybe in 2 years, maybe never, I mean, every high school player's dream is to play in the NBA. And there's been some good ones here, from this area that had a chance and didn't make it. And Darius is still a young guy. He's got 2 years to learn, so I would expect him to be back here not only next year, but the year after. That would be my gut.
Early last week, after we talked to you on Monday, Western Reserve hired a new football coach, Jason Lude. And what kind of things have you heard from Western Reserve about that decision and how excited they are to kind of bring him into the fold?
Well, Jason is one of those guys who played at Western Reserve. Again, I talked to him, and he told me, he wrote a letter to his guidance counselor when he was 17 years old saying, hey, one day I'll be the head coach at Western Reserve. You look at Coach Hake's success, and you probably thought at that point, Andy was going to be there for a long, long time. And, things happened, and Jason interviewed when the position came open, didn't get it. And, good things happen to good people, and certainly Jason is one of those good people. I mean, he's going to bring some experience with him from Salem, where he's been the defensive coordinator for the past 12 years. And just what the type of person he is, I'll tell you this. I talked to Jason on Tuesday or the night he got hired, and I asked him to do an interview, and he, first of all, said absolutely. Then he called me back and says, you know what, I owe it to my kids in Salem to tell them first, and I respect that. And that's exactly what he did. So he told the kids in Salem on Wednesday, I believe, and then I talked to him later in the day. So he'll do a good job there. He has that pedigree there. He knows what Western Reserve football is all about, and certainly that I think that was a very good hire for Western Reserve.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. I think that Western Reserve needed to have someone who is familiar with the program, someone who, in a perfect world, grew up in the Western Reserve School District and played for Western Reserve. The small town school, it's really nice, and sometimes it's really important to have someone who has the background and someone who's one of, quote, one of them. And they've hired their own, and I think it's a fantastic move for Western Reserve.
And time will tell, Ron. It's all based, on wins and losses. I mean, I know that's the barometer for success of coaches, but you got to look what these coaches do off the field. And, with what we're going through these days, all those coaches have challenges. All those coaches have different responsibilities now. And with today being the first day of contact sports starting, a lot of coaches or several coaches we talked to, we're happy just to see their guys and get everybody kind of back in the form a little bit, depending on where you are in this phases. Phase 1 or Phase 2. Phase 1, you still need the groups. Phase 2, you go up to about 40, 45 players with 2 separate groups. So I think guys are excited. I think players are excited to kind of get back to maybe not normal, but a sense of normalcy, and hopefully it stays that way.
Dana, obviously this past weekend was not a good weekend for the collegiate and professional ranks of the football. The National Football League is pretty much said without saying that the Hall of Fame game is going to get canceled, and that might be a preview of things to come. Various outbreaks of COVID-19 throughout a lot of the Power 5 schools, Clemson being the latest, joining Alabama and a few other institutions. How does that bode for the high school football? I know that right now things seem to be okay, but man, when you look at what's going on potentially with college and pro football, that's got to have a trickle-down effect.
Well, Ron, I think first of all what you got to do is you have to, and again, my personal opinion is I just think they started too soon. I think if you wait till July 1st with all this stuff, you may have a better shot. Not saying that, not saying there's not going to be a season or an abbreviated season. I get asked every day, what do I think? And, the answer is it's too early to tell. But I think within the next couple of weeks, the Ohio High School Athletic Association is going to come out and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I think they need to do that. I think they will do that. I think the governor is going to release plans on schools opening, this week. And I just think that that's critical because I think coaches are hesitant because, you don't want to ramp all the way up and then have to take a couple of steps back. So I think we'll have a very good idea of what's going to be happening, in August, within the next couple of weeks, maybe before the 4th of July, maybe right after the 4th of July. But, coaches ask me all the time, what are you hearing? What are you hearing? And basically it's what I tell them. There's some questions when it comes to football. The simplest thing is, what do you do with the coaches? What do you do with the coaches in the box? Okay, if we're and social distancing is going to be the first thing or the last thing that social distancing may be with us forever. But how do you do that in a coach's box? The NFL game may get canceled. Now, the NFL, in my opinion, will do what they want to do. High school and college will kind of be married. I mean, I saw something this morning. If there is football, they're going to ask fans to wear masks. I mean, if limited fans are coming to a stadium, how are athletic directors going to police that? Who's going to get tickets? Who's not going to get tickets? Are you going to have the ban there? So, I guess the simple response is when you think about it, there's no answers. What do you do about social distancing? With players. How do you tackle? That sort of thing. And right now, there's no answers. As we sit today, there's no answers. Now, in a week, there could be answers. So my best guess is I think the season will be abbreviated. I don't think it's going to start on time as we sit today because, Ron, under the rules, under the guidelines set by the state for contact sports to begin, under the current rules, you cannot play tag football. So how are things in 7 weeks going to change for tackle?
It's a good question. About a month ago, we had Tim Street on, and he admitted the OHSAA is in serious trouble. If there is no football, they would be in serious financial trouble. So before we let you go, what are the chances, if any, of the rumor of about a month ago where you flip football to spring and you flip the spring sports into the fall?
It never happened. It won't happen, at least as we sit today. The big reason for that a couple of months ago was because then, the baseball and softball and spring sport kids would miss 2 seasons. They would still miss 2 seasons if you did that, and Snodgrass isn't going to let that happen. So I think the best case scenario right now is you just have to wait and see. I mean, is there hope? Sure, but things change every single day when it comes to this. I just don't know. And again, practically speaking, Ron, as we sit today, you cannot play tag football. How is that going to change in 8 weeks? I just don't see it changing. There was maybe talk of moving up the season a couple of weeks because the virus would come back in the colder temperatures. Again, I don't know if you can do that. There's a lot of ideas going on. There's a lot of scenarios. I mean, I know the state has probably 15, 20 scenarios of what they're going to do, but sooner or later, they got to make a decision on what they're going to do, how they're going to proceed. There was a Division III football school, I can't think of the name of it, that canceled their fall sports today. So I just think we need to, just sit back, take a deep breath, and say, okay, this is what we got to do, and this is what the state has to do. And certainly, I think once they make that decision, whether it's let's go ahead, whether it's okay, let's take a step back, I just think a decision has to be made because that will take down the questions. But Ron, you know very well, I would say at this point, how are you even going to wrestle in the wintertime?
Well, you're right. I mean, there's so many questions, and unfortunately, we're running out of time. And speaking of time, I know you have a meeting to get to, so get there. We apologize for not having you on sooner, and we'll talk next week in our normal time, Dana.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it. Dana Balish, TV 21 Sports Director. It's I don't like putting a wet blanket on anything these days, but Dana's 1,000,000% right on a lot of things, and we sat back, and as a society, this smacks of procrastination, which we as a society have become a lot more conducive to procrastinating. I know that I should probably be the local president of the Procrastinators Club, where our meetings are Tuesday, but we meet on Fridays, don't you know? But in all seriousness, we've had months and months to figure this out, and everyone dilly-dallied around, and now here we are, very close to the start of the upcoming football season, albeit training camp and whatnot. and we still don't have any answers.
Well, I don't think we dilly-dallied. I think we were just trying to understand what this virus was all about. What everyone was kind of scrambling on, not just, sports. How do we function in everyday life for a couple of months? We had to figure that out first before we even thought about sports. And now that we finally kind of relaxed the reins on normal, quote unquote, normal life, we can start to have that discussion about sports finally. And I think Dana always, every time we bring him on, he brings up great points because he's not a doomsday kind of person. But he lets people know that there's not a simple answer to this. And I think a lot of people think that the solution to this is going to be on the back of a bumper sticker or it's going to be a meme on Facebook. It's not. It's a bowl of spaghetti because he says it all the time. One question, you pull it, and then there's like 5 other questions that are connected to it. It's so complicated and so many moving parts, and there's not a simple answer out there to let's just go play football.
And he's 1,000,000% right on a couple of things. Number one, you're not able to play tag football. That's
right
touch
now,
football.
Under the law.
Under the law, you're not able to play touch football.
I'm sure
right
there's a
now.
lot of touch football being played.
Of course, but under the law, if you were enforcing it, you would not be allowed to play touch football. That's not even tackle football.
That's the other thing. They're going to come down with guidelines, but enforcing guidelines is going to be a completely separate issue on how you enforce all these guidelines and what if teams decide to kind of tweak the guidelines a little bit. The OHSAA cannot possibly enforce the guidelines throughout the whole state. They just can't do it. There's no way. They have trouble enforcing their rules as it is.
Well, absolutely. And a lot of their rules are on the honor system, which, and I hate to say this, and it's going to sound cynical, but the honor system these days is a waste of time because there's not a lot of people that are going to be completely honest about whatever. If you break a rule, okay, that's something that you never want to do. You never want to break a rule, and it doesn't matter if it's a teeny tiny rule or if it's a major infraction rule. You never want to break rules, but people always like to bend the rules a little bit, and that's where in your statement, Anthony, you're right. The OHSAA does not have whistleblowers. They have people that are going to go after those that have broken a rule or a big rule, but they don't have enough whistleblowers to say, hey, we don't even want you bending any rules. We want you to play by the rules of how we are setting things up. And the mistake is, and they have no alternative but to do this by the honor system. That's the mistake because, again, a lot of schools will bend the rules. Not necessarily break the rules, but they'll bend the rules and skirt around a few things. And that's human nature because, the games, a lot of the games, not just football, but practically every game, cheating is part of the game. It's not blatantly cheating to where you break rules, but cheating to the point of bending the rules.
Change your word to finding loopholes.
Finding loopholes,
within the
rules. Which is cheating, but it's not really cheating because you're not breaking a rule.
It's legally cheating, is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what loopholes
and
are.
because the OHSAA can't say, "Hey, we're shutting you down because you legally cheated," can't do it.
The only thing the OHSAA can really do, correct me if I'm wrong, but they can just say you're not going to play in our tournament.
Yeah, exactly.
But as far as the actual regular season, the OHSAA can't say like, "Hey, you can't play these games anymore." Like they can't stop a football team from going and playing the games. They can just stop them from going and playing in the state tournament.
Yeah, you can sit back and say this is not an OHSAA sanctioned event.
Yeah,
and it won't count in the computer ratings. But play the game. It's just not going to be. It's not going to affect the playoffs.
If the team's already been cut out from the playoffs and they don't care, let's just go play the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And there are a lot of teams that they know if they make the playoffs, they'll be an 8 or 7 seed. They're going to get blown out the first round anyway. So they might bend. They might be that team that says, we can bend the rules a little bit because all we're going to get is a little slap on the wrist, but we're going to go beat our rivals anyway because that's what we want to play.
Yeah,
it's just going to be really hard. The guidelines, it's a lot more at stake. So you definitely hope these schools take the guidelines seriously. But at the end of the day, enforcement of the guidelines is going to be a joke.
Well, and here is a big difference from a regular season where the guidelines are essentially thrown in the trash by and large.
Once you
some of them,
those guidelines are
once you get into the tournament, now they're ironclad and you can't mess with them. But in the regular season, you can skirt around a number of these things. But here's the difference. Now we're talking potential lives are in order.
Right. That's
now,
why I said I hope that these higher ups will take these guidelines extremely seriously. But I'm not saying that that's like a wrong thing to do it. I'm just saying OHSA is going to have a lot of trouble trying to force these teams to do it, and there are going to be teams that don't.
Yeah.
Or bend it a little bit.
And I would hope that, again, this is a different scenario where potentially there are lives at stake. Now, I say potentially because historically this virus has not killed a number of teenagers or people in their 20s and 30s. However,
especially
if you're somehow get contracted with this and you visit your parents or your grandparents, okay, now we're talking something that could very well happen. Again, the chances of someone dying of this are still rather high odds-wise, but it's still a part of. It could happen.
People like to say that, it affects 0.1% of the population. Like they like to say that because it kind of discounts it kind of separates that. But 0.1% of the population it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
you say it that way so it doesn't sound like a lot of people.
Sure.
But it's still a lot of people affected by. I mean, it's dehumanizing almost to say you're part of that 0.1%. So you don't really. We don't care. Not we don't care, but we're going to ignore you that you're dying. You know,
it's hit home. It's hit home for my hometown. I mean, we lost someone that was 3 years younger than me because of COVID-19. So this scenario is a little bit different than a normal football season where you have these guidelines. Some of them we're going to be okay with. Others, we can bend this a little bit. I would hope that if we're going to have guidelines where the fans are expected to wear masks at a game, wear it.
Wear it.
If certain fans or certain tickets can be sold, but everyone that has a ticket can no longer stand around a track, which normally in football games, you have more people standing and observing the game from around the standing area, which by and large is a track. Because football and the track happens to be more often than not, there happens to be a track, and then the football stadium or the football field is inside the outer edges of a track. A lot of people will stand around snow fence and watch the game. Well, if the OHSAA is going to, and we don't know this to be a fact or not, but if the OHSAA is going to say, hey, everyone is going to have to sit in their assigned seat. Hopefully, all the schools are going to say, hey, nobody's allowed to stand around and watch and meander a half a foot or whatever from your neighbor. Now you're going to have to sit in an assigned seat, and this is where you're going to be watching the game. Hopefully, everyone is going to have that strict guideline as well. This is a different scenario altogether.
That's when it comes to the schools themselves enforcing those rules. Because the schools, I feel like when it comes to protocol at the game, when it comes to where you're sitting, what you can and can't do while you're at the game, that's going to be up to the schools to say, to enforce that. Because they can, the schools have every right to say, if you're not wearing a mask, we're not going to let you into the gates.
There you go.
That guy can take it off as soon as he gets in the gate, if that's the kind of person he's going to be. But we're not going to let you in if you don't have a mask on. The schools have every right to do that. And it's going to make people upset. But at the same time, it's within the school's ability and their right.
Well, and the other thing, and we talked about this last week, and it's just my own personal opinion, if you're going to have a football game and you're going to have the football game without the marching band, then I don't want football. And that's going to be the inner band geek in me coming out. because I was in the marching band for 4 years, and I happened to be good enough to had gone to the Warren Junior Military Band, which was a really, really unbelievably music-oriented band that was known nationwide, not just in this area. But for me, that is every bit the reason why football in this area is so freaking good. It's part of the package, the complete package of football. If you don't have the band, you've lost me in terms of the environment of the game of football. Champ, what's going on, brother?
You guys are talking about something that's obviously a topic right now. You know, I remind everyone, too, that a week Saturday was supposed to be the original Arizona plan for Major League Baseball, and I don't think that there's going to be an Arizona plan, even if it was scheduled. So with things going on right now in Arizona, it's just another example of we have no idea what is ahead of us in terms of this virus. And unlike the pros for football, high school and college, they still have to go to class, and that's no idea why they're there to begin with. There's classes going on. And I just think it's a tough situation for everyone involved, especially the higher you go up with principals, administration, coaches. I mean, I got to believe that every day they're putting their hands in the air thinking, what are we going to do next? What are we going to do next? But it's a tough situation right now.
Yeah, it is. It's difficult. I feel for any administrator, athletic director. I feel for all the coaches that are coming up in fall sports. It's, you want to be fair to the students. You want to give the student athletes an opportunity to play their chosen sport, but you also want to keep everyone safe, not just the students. You want to keep everyone who's attending games safe as well. And yeah, this is just a scenario that we're not at. We don't have control of our own destiny, and I think that's part of the problem that I have with all of this is that coronavirus is and everything that's going on. We're not in control of our own destiny. We are at the mercy of a virus right now in which we don't have a vaccine. Now, if we have a vaccine, okay, now we have a little bit more control over the situation. But as of right now, we don't have much control over this virus.
Yeah, and if I use a sports analogy for this, is that, and we don't know if this virus is in the third quarter, fourth quarter. It may be in the first couple minutes of the opening quarter. We have no idea where it's at in terms of how long it's going to be, and that's I think the scary thing, the unknown right now. I mean, we know that this thunderstorm, this bad weather we're having, we know that's going to end shortly, and we're going to probably have sun out here shortly. We know that, but this is it's frustrating. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of what high school sports could you play. I mean, we know they're playing professional golf right now, but is there any sport you could think of in high school that because of the way the sports, lack of distancing could happen? I mean, is there a sport out there?
If we were in the season, I mean, they're playing baseball and softball right now anyway. So I imagine if we were in a point where if this was March or February right now, we'd be talking about they'd probably be starting up high school softball and baseball, because if you're playing it at Scene and in travel ball, I see no reason why if it was right now you couldn't play high school and softball.
Well, high school golf would be something that I think that, if you're doing it on the PGA Tour, and just make sure that the fans, you're not allowed to watch the kids play, and they'll just go play whatever course you're playing on, and you can play high school golf. The fall sports, volleyball is probably out. Football is probably, as of right now, would probably not be able to go. Cross country is one that I think would be very interesting because it's a singular sport. You're not blocking someone. You don't have a lot of physical in terms of pouncing on another person. You're more like you're running and you're trying to be the best runner. And I mean, if someone's running with you, I suppose you could make an argument. Maybe that would be tough, but I think cross country would be something that we could probably look at.
Soccer's probably out.
Soccer's out. Football would be out. Volleyball would be out. I'm thinking golf and cross country are probably the only fall sports that you could make an argument would be able to be played under the circumstances.
I was thinking about track and field, and I was thinking, obviously, what if they would run like every individual one at a time or two at a time and use their times instead of having, 5 or 6, 7 at one time racing? I wonder if that could be a compromise with like the track and field sports.
Well, either that or you do the Tour de France thing where you let certain people go at a certain time. And, if someone's running a 100-meter dash, okay, he runs 10 yards, 15 yards, okay, the next guy start. 10 or 15 yards later, okay, you start. And that way you're not going to have someone pass someone up, but you can also have 8 different timers. You're in charge of this particular person, and you get a time that way. Now, would it be as official as you can get? Probably not, but I could see where you could do something like that.
And then you have to think, track and field relays, are you going to run relays? Are you going to be okay with someone passing a baton to the next person? And because there's that whole thing, you can't touch something that someone else just touched, so...
Yeah, the relays would be in question because of that. I mean, and you'd probably have to deep clean the baton every single time you're doing something like that. I mean, it's just everything.
I would say just run the relays, but that's
yeah. It would just. I mean, if you're going to do track, I mean, 100, 200, 400, 800, 16, 3200, and you're doing it staggered wise, or if you want to go one at a time, okay, great. The high jump, yeah, but once a player is done, you got to clean the pit, and then let another person do it. A long jump, I mean, you can still do the long jump event. You can still do the shot put and the discus event. I mean, as long as someone's bringing their own shot put or their own discus. Otherwise, you have to deep clean the shot put, deep clean the discus.
Yeah, and you wonder if the rosters, you'd have to have more individuals on the track team in case someone is out quarantine. You'd have more, maybe people on a roster on a team. But it's just it's interesting, and I tell you, I wouldn't want to be the person making those decisions. And and if you're a parent and you find out that somebody on the volleyball team or someone on the basketball team or whatever, tests positive, I mean, I got to believe that you're going to tell your kids to get out of there and get home. And let's wait this out. I just can't see anyone saying, well, you know what, that's all right, we're going to get in there. Chances are it's nothing's going to happen, but it's very scary.
Well, I mean, really look, if someone tests positive, I mean, obviously everyone is going to have to be tested then. And then,
right.
And then, you hope and pray that they test negative, but you're going to have to quarantine them for a few days. Which basically shuts down your program for a few days, and then you do the testing, and hopefully you get the result back in a day or two. But your program would be shut down for at least a week, maybe even longer.
And
I think Stratomatic baseball might even have to be shut down.
Oh, I don't know about that. Let's not go crazy here.
Let's remember too, we're talking about high school students who are going to school every day with
yes.
A lot of people. So let's just be honest. Someone's going to get it. Someone's going to test positive. It's inevitable because schools are like the hotbed of sicknesses. So yeah, someone is probably going to get COVID-19, and it's probably going to be there's going to be that chance. And then, what are the parents' reaction to that? What are the schools' reaction to that? What are the coaches' reaction? All that stuff. Questions that we have to answer.
Yeah, and I remember back when I went to school, it seems like a long time ago, but there was a lot of times that I remember, especially in grade school, where we had classes outside when it was a nice day. We would go out. I mean, that might be something where, depending on the weather, that you might be forced to maybe sometimes move outside for classes, just to, because outdoors seems to be a little bit safer than being inside.
I'm all for that, champ. I remember back in the day, every so often, we would have a class outside, mainly in the springtime. We would have a class outside, and it didn't happen very often, but I looked forward to those times.
Problem is, we live in Northeast Ohio where the weather is
very
rarely nice enough to go out.
Hence the reason why it happened very rarely, Anthony, because, at the risk of telling a kid to get off my lawn, in my day, the snow was real and it was a lot deeper than what we have now.
Yeah, and and the good thing about now is that we have obviously some good weather. It's nice out. There's a lot of things, but can you imagine what it'd be like in the middle of January when you have 2 feet of snow on the ground? What it'd be like? Talk about I guess I think I might
we
take
don't talk
sled
about
riding.
that during the summer camp. We don't even mention it.
Yeah, I might have to find my sled in the attic. I think it's up there somewhere, the old sled.
Yeah, you got to oil that bad boy before you go. All right, man.
Well, before I oil it, I got to put a little support on it because I think if I got on it right now, I'd probably crack it in half. But it's just something to think about. It's just, I guess when we watched that Super Bowl, we should have really appreciated that Super Bowl, because that was really maybe the last championship that we remember right now, and who knows how long. Although golf is managing at this point, and keep your fingers crossed because it's really the only game in town unless you're a NASCAR fan.
I appreciate that Super Bowl a lot.
Yeah, and this is a Raider fan saying maybe we should have appreciated a Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl.
Poke it a little bit.
Oh, Lordy.
Yeah. Well, they should maybe challenge that Super Bowl because maybe there were some people that were sick back then. We should maybe look at that and maybe take that away from the Chiefs.
Oh, Lordy.
Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo was sick when he overthrew that wide open Emmanuel Sanders. Maybe he was just a little bit sick.
Yeah, well, the good thing is the Chiefs, even though it took them a long time to get back to the Super Bowl, they may be the defending champion for like 3 or 4 years. Who knows?
50 years.
Yeah, 50 years to get to the summit again. So
yeah,
there you go.
Oh well, that's all I got. I'm running out of material here, but it is what it is, right?
Champ, always a pleasure, sir.
Thank you.
All right, see you. Champ Summers checking in as he does.
Is his real name Champ, or is that like a nickname?
Oh, it's a nickname.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nickname.
Because, not a lot of people are named Champ, so he'd be Champ Bailey is the only other one I don't even know if that's his real name either, if that's just like a nickname, if someone gave him the name Champ.
Well, if he was born in the heyday of Lions football back in the 50s, I could see where he would be nicknamed Champ.
Okay.
Now, Detroit sports, or specifically the Lions, since the 50s, not so much.
It's hard to nickname anybody Champ in Detroit. So.
You have seen a couple of Pistons championships and Red Wings.
Okay.
Tigers,
they got close.
It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
Lions, that's another subject.
Superstars escape Detroit just to get out of there.
Let me throw a question your way and see if you can get this.
Oh, jeez.
In the last 20 years, since the turn of the century, there are 3 NFC teams, only three, that have not gone to a Super Bowl in the 21st century. Can you name them?
21st century, you're talking the 2000s.
From 2000 through 2020.
Well, I'm going to say the Lions.
Yeah, the Lions are one. Dun, 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 do 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 bum 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 bum.
Cowboys haven't been there.
There you go. That's 2. I'm surprised that you picked that one because there's an obvious one that you haven't figured out yet. I was
going through all the divisions and I was like, oh, the Vikings haven't been there either.
Yes, they have.
Not in the 2000s.
Yes, they have.
When?
They were in the. Oh gosh, no! I'll have to look. I'll have to look.
The last time I can remember them even getting close is when Atlanta beat them in the NFC title game. Back when they went to the Super Bowl 33, to Atlanta, they got beat by the Broncos, but they upset the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC title game.
Yeah,
that's the last time I remember them even being thought of as a Super Bowl caliber team.
There's a third team. They reside in the same division as Dallas.
Oh well,
the Washington Redskins.
Right.
Yeah. But
I don't know. I don't know if the Vikings have been in a Super Bowl in the 2000s.
We'll have to do some a look at that, but that was something that was a question that was brought up earlier today.
That's Super Bowl 30 to 50, right?
Well, I mean, whatever the Super Bowl year, which would have been the '99 season, Super Bowl was 2000.
Yeah. Because this one was 50.
54.
54. So 34 to 54.
Somewhere in that vicinity.
I don't think the Vikings ever got there.
All right. Well, the three that we know of, Detroit, Washington, and Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And Dallas, this is where you can think that things are really, really good, depending on your illusion. The illusion of the Dallas Cowboys being an amazing franchise that's what it is. They're a marketed franchise. They are the New York Yankees, to some degree, of Major League Baseball. They're one of, if not the most popular franchise in the National Football League because of the rabid fan base and whatnot.
They lost a garbage NFC East last year.
Well, and they have not been in a Super Bowl in the 21st century.
Right.
They have been irrelevant, essentially, for a quarter of a century.
I wouldn't go that far because they definitely have teams. They've had teams that have been extremely good. For the love of God, they can't win a playoff game. They've won like 2.
Yeah.
But with those teams, even with Tony Romo had some really good teams that got to the playoffs, should have won games. If Des Bryant makes that catch that some people think is a catch.
It was a catch. But
by the rule, it was.
By the rule, it wasn't. You're right.
So it's tough. I'll tell you this. The Cowboys are about to sign Dak Prescott to a $31 million deal. It's going to happen very, very soon because I saw the news break this morning.
Well, it's only going to be a 1-year thing because he had the franchise tag, which,
if they don't do something this year, it's going to be a trouble. And I know Mike McCarthy's a new coach, but they brought him in because they knew they had enough talent to do something now. Mike McCarthy is not a hire to do something in the future.
No.
They brought him in to do something right now.
Exactly.
So with the talent they have on their roster, I think they have like five of the 20 players in the NFL that are paid more than $10 million a year. They better get to something. I mean, an NFC title or bust for the Cowboys.
It would be nice if they did that, but again, this is a classic example of illusion of because they're on TV an awful lot. They're quote America's team. They haven't done anything in the last quarter century. They haven't gone to a Super Bowl in the 20th century. They haven't won a Super Bowl, let alone appeared in a Super Bowl in the 21st century. I mean, the reality is the Cowboys have been one of 3 teams, Detroit and Washington. And we'll look and see if Minnesota went to a Super Bowl. But Detroit, Washington, and Dallas are 3 teams in the AFC or in the NFC that have never gone to a Super Bowl in the 21st century. We're 20 years into the century.
Yeah.
And America's team hasn't gone into a Super Bowl, hasn't sniffed a Super Bowl.
I'd be interested to see if they've went to any NFC title games. I mean, I can't even remember them in an NFC title game, to be honest.
Yeah.
They lost a division game to the Packers a couple years ago with Des Bryant, but I don't think they've been in an NFC title game, even a chance to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's one of those.
At least the
illusions.
Vikings can say that. The Vikings have been to NFC title games.
Yes, they have. Yeah, I mean, Favre throwing the pick.
Yep, and then Kirk Cousins got him there a couple of years in a row, and I think we've hit the ceiling with Kirk Cousins, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that was, you liked this one away a long time ago. We're going to take a timeout, take some phone calls, 330-886-0813. Back in a bit. Stick around.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Fresh limousine. I'm feeling pretty good about myself, like I'm living the dream. Platform shoes, strut down the street. It's gonna get hot in here. I hope you can handle the heat.
Over the years, you watched us grow, and as we've grown, so has the Myers Family Insurance team.
Thanks to all of you who have trusted our families to help you with your Medicare needs.
Myers Family Insurance looks forward to helping you now for years to come. So call our family today and remind them how cute we are.
Myers Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Anthony, you are 100% correct on the Vikings. They have not been in a Super Bowl since Super Bowl.
Back when they did that 4 Super Bowl.
The Rose Bowl, 1977, in which they lost
the Raiders?
to the Raiders.
Yep.
That was their 4th and final Super Bowl loss. They have not been back to a Super Bowl since Super Bowl 11.
That was the famous pick 6 by
Old Man Willie Brown.
Old Man Willie Brown.
Yeah.
Looking back, I remember because I used to watch
super slow mo of him doing that, much like my 40 super slow mo.
When I was growing up, we had a Super Bowl highlights tape that went up to like Super Bowl 22. And when I was a kid, I must have watched that thing like once a week, just because I love football. So
yeah,
that's just one of the images that I'll always remember watching from that film is him running, and maybe one of the first like slow mo replays in football.
There you
one
go.
of the most famous ones. So,
Champ tweeting in the last Cowboys Super Bowl, Bill Belichick was a Browns coach.
Oof.
Yeah, that's a ways back there. The last time they won a Super Bowl or they appeared in a Super Bowl. Was in the Georgia Dome in 1994 when they beat the Bills for the second time. Yeah, they beat Buffalo 2 years in a row. The second time was in the Georgia Dome on January 30th, 1994. So 26 years for the Dallas Cowboys. Actually, no, I take that back. They beat the Steelers in '96 in Sun Devil Stadium in Tempe.
It's been so long. The Georgia Dome isn't even a thing anymore. It's been replaced by Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yeah, well, Dallas did win a Super Bowl in '96 against the Steelers. I forgot about that. And Steeler fans are probably forgetting about that one as well. That was the Neil O'Donnell. I find Larry Brown open. Oh, wait a minute. He's not one of us. He's one of them. Hit him 3 times. One of those things. One of those things. But
well, we got some news in.
Yes.
Because of the weather that came over, maybe a half an hour ago. Class B tonight is canceled. All games at Scene Park tonight are canceled.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. I mean, we had some pretty bad weather down here, but the weather north of us, specifically in
tornado warning.
Yeah, in Mahoning and Trumbull County, northern Mahoning, southern Trumbull County, there was a tornadic type of stuff going on, hence the tornado warning. So that's long since gone, and hopefully no damage. But yeah, the weather was a little more dangerous in Mahoning and Trumbull counties, and because Scene Park is in Struthers, right smack dab in the middle of Mahoning County, yeah, that's a no-brainer.
And when you add that to the rain they did get last night, a little bit of that, so the fields probably aren't doing too well right now.
Yeah, and look, we haven't had a lot of rain per se.
No,
it's been a really nice month of June, and unfortunately, Mother Nature today putting the brakes on baseball for the day.
And they do have we have to remember they have a limited staff as far as the field team.
Sure.
Right, so they don't have as many people as they would in a normal summer to get the field ready after a rain.
Yeah. Now here's the interesting thing that I think is fascinating. You have tarps on 1, 2, and 3. You have tarps that are rolled up down the left field line. Now, this is coming from someone who is very well versed in the art of pulling a tarp, because back in the day, when you're in minor league baseball, if you're an employee of minor league baseball, you are to pull a tarp, because minor league baseball programs historically do not have a large enough grounds crew where you're able to pull a tarp, where you have to get people that are employed by the teams to do tarp pull. Now, you could be called at 6 in the morning to pull a tarp. You could be called at 11 o'clock at night to pull a tarp. If the weather is to be inclement the night before a day game, the tarp is put on the field. And if, let's say, the team is on the road and they're starting a homestand on a Friday and the team is on the road on a Thursday, and hey, we need this tarp on the field because it's going to rain like a mother on Thursday night, everyone pulls this tarp out. And here's the thing with a tarp. You have to have at least 12 people to stretch this thing out, to pull it, stretch it out. It takes the whole infield, and then you have to either nail some stakes into the ground, or for us, when we were doing it in Jackson and in Altoona, you would have sandbags. You'd have heavy sandbags, and you would put the sandbags, 4 or 5 or 6 of them, on the in a diagonal fashion, where the infield it's completely covered with a tarp, and you would have 6 sandbags up the first and up the third base line, and 6 more sandbags from first to second, third to second. You'd have 24 sandbags total.
I've also seen the high schools have used the buckets that are filled with sand.
Yes.
It's a sandbag, but it's a bucket that's easier to just kind of.
Yeah.
And I've also seen tires be used too.
Yes. We've seen tractor gear used.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes to keep this thing down. But it takes at least 12 people to pull this tarp off, and then you have to get the tarp off of the roller, which means you have to hook the roller to a one of those tractors or one of those mini Jeeps or something like that, and then you essentially roll the tarp or roll the tube until the tarp is completely off the tube, and then you put the brakes on, and the 12 people grab a section of the tarp, pull a little bit, and grab a little bit more, pull it.
To the God that it's not windy.
Exactly.
I'm sure you've been a part of one or two that the wind catches the tarp, and you're sitting there holding on.
We have actually had, and it only happened once, we actually had someone 6 feet in the air.
Oh, jeez.
Because the wind got so interesting.
I haven't seen that, but I've seen the people get caught under the tarp.
Oh yeah, I've been caught under a tarp. That's not cool.
I wouldn't like that.
Scary. That's not cool.
That's ultimate claustrophobia right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And way back in the day when you had the automatic tarps that came out under the ground in the artificial turf era, Vince Coleman had his leg caught in the tube on the roller, and they got away with that real quick. That was the reason why they got rid of the automatic tarps when Vince Coleman had it. Yeah, great idea. And
concept.
Yeah, the concept was it's a great idea, but unfortunately, if a player happens to trip and he gets his leg caught in that tube, you can snap a person's leg. Now, fortunately, Vince Coleman's leg didn't snap, but he had some pretty serious damage to his leg because it was rolled up on inside the tube of the tarpaulin. So yeah, the whole tarp thing, and I don't know how many people are at Bob Scene Park in terms of the grounds crew, but I can promise you, if you don't have 12 people, good luck trying to pull a tarp because it's not going to happen.
And I'm sure that because they had rain last night and because there was rain in the forecast, it was probably tarp this morning. You would imagine that
you would hope, sure.
But the outfield is probably a flood right now. So I mean, tarp or not, you can't just go and play right now.
Yeah, and that's where if you have a good drainage system where the field drains exceptionally well, your field can hold a lot of water. But it's so important to have that tarp down. If the tarp's not down, now you've got all kinds of damage on the infield, and if you've got puddles everywhere, forget about playing, because the drying agent only does so much.
Right.
So there you go. And one of the things that I definitely do not miss at all, not even close to missing at all, in minor league baseball was the tarp pulls. That's the one thing I do not miss about
baseball. Now I want to see video of Ron Potesta pulling a tarp.
You don't want to see that.
That might be another Poe nose.
No. That life is past me. I will not pull another tarp. That's not going to happen. That is not in my contract.
Would you do it for a Klondike bar?
Probably not.
Oh.
Probably not. I'd do a lot of things for a Klondike bar, but that's probably not going to happen. And I could just see DJ saying in his mind going, I could probably bribe him with some Lorna Doones.
Lorna Doones.
Yeah, which there you go, the official cookie of the Running Point, right Lorna Doone, right there. Good stuff. My favorite cookie. It's shortbread. Mm-hmm. That's good. It's a good cookie. Definitely is. All right, I have no intentions of pulling a tarp ever again. That's one thing that I'm so glad. It's probably the only thing that I miss or don't miss about baseball. Probably the only thing that I don't miss. The bus rides, and that's part of the price of being in minor league baseball. You go through the bus rides. Is it a pain? Absolutely it is, especially if you can't sleep on a bus. But it's necessity. Pulling a tarp, no, I don't miss that at all. No, not at all. Not at all. Nope. But again, I mean, if you don't have 12 people in a grounds crew, that tarp is useless. You better come up with 12 people. Otherwise, that tarp can stay wherever it is because it ain't going to be used. All right, 330-886-0813. We're back in a bit. Stick around. More to come.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
330-886-0813. That is the number to call. It's a Monday edition of Running Point. Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. With you till 3 o'clock. Again, the news breaking. No baseball tonight at Bobsine Park as Mother Nature, as she sometimes does. She is the arbiter in charge of whether a game is going to be played. And Mother Nature played the trump card called rain today.
Forget rain. She threw a whole tornado out. She said, "There's nothing that's gonna stop this tornado." Boop. Now, I will say I don't know if there was actually a touchdown in the air. I just know tornado warning means that it goes past watch, which means there's something.
Yeah, there's something in you could see the funnel cloud, but it hasn't touched down.
Yeah. So,
where a few weeks ago there was a tornado warning in Columbiana County, and as it turns out, the tornado did in fact touch down in the northern end of Leetonia, which. And I know that area quite well. I grew up in the northern end of Leetonia. That tornado touched down literally next door from my childhood home.
Ooh.
And it didn't do a significant amount of damage to the home next door to the house that I grew up in. But yeah, that's a scary thing. Seeing a tornado touch down, that close to your home.
I'll tell you, one year we went to Kansas City one summer, and that the tornadoes in the Midwest are brutal. We're sitting in a restaurant, and a tornado warning starts. And I'm looking around this place. It's like a kind of a bar / patio restaurant, but it has like car memorabilia hanging from the ceiling. And I'm looking around thinking, if a tornado is anywhere near us, we're screwed because all this is coming down. And someone's going to get crushed. Because it was like car parts and tires.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't want to be here during a tornado warning. It wasn't a fun place to be at. That, and I wouldn't want to be at a Cracker Barrel either, because Cracker Barrel has a bunch of those old-time farm equipment. And if that comes off the wall, someone's going to die.
Oh, that can do some serious damage.
Right.
I've lived through one tornado, and that was enough for me. I was in Jackson, Tennessee, first year in Jackson. Jackson has historically had some really bad tornadoes in the seasons through the years. This one went through downtown Jackson. Now, my ex, I don't even think I was married at the time, but we were engaged, and she was here for a visit, and it was on a Sunday night. We were going to Mobile, Alabama the next day, and she was going to be driving back to her home state the next day. And F4, which is a pretty big size. And it used to be F. Now it's EF.
If you don't know, it goes to 5. And 5 is extremely rare.
Yeah.
So 4 is pretty much as strong as it gets, unless you're a big mama and once every 10 years you get like a 5 somewhere.
Yeah. Now this one was by all from the scientific stuff a small 4, which is an extra large size 3. So it was a small 4, barely hitting the EF4 or F4, but I mean it was a dangerous, very dangerous, catastrophic type of storm. All right, most of the players and most of the organization lived on the west side of Jackson, over by Union University and a couple of other places. Not close to downtown, but close enough where you are going to have, you're definitely going to have some activity. From downtown, you'll have the activity depending on how wide the funnel is. Well, this funnel was pretty wide, and we got part of it. So I'm living in an apartment complex, and we're in the bathroom, which is essentially the only place,
safest place you can be if
where
there's
you're
no
going to be.
underground.
Exactly. So we go through this, and it was tough. About an hour after it went through, you're listening to the radio, and everyone says, it's all good. Now you got to access some damage. Now, you live in an apartment. A lot of apartments, and those that live in apartments know this, you don't have a garage.
Mm-mm.
You have a canopy, but you don't have a garage. My then fiance had her Explorer under a canopy, and mine was left outside. There were very large pieces of hail all around the apartment complex, and my windows weren't affected, but you had dents all over the car, and it was like golf ball size hail, and these pieces of hail dented the car. It dents on the top, dents on the hood, dents on the trunk. I mean, it was really weird. I did get a couple of broken pieces of glass, but not completely broken through in the corners of my window and the front end. So we're driving, or we have to go to Mobile. So I get on the bus, and everyone's, oh man, it's blah, 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 blah. Everyone was basically making light of it because the western part of the city didn't have any damage.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the hail, but you didn't have any damage per se. In order to go into the interstate to take you to Mobile, you got to drive through downtown Jackson. So everyone's having a jolly good time talking about whatever. And then we get close to downtown. And then you start watching and looking, and wait a second. That used to be a home there. That's
Right.
gone.
Happy feelings gone.
That used to be a tree line of like 15, 20 trees. Nothing but stumps. They're gone. Didn't that used to be a business? Oh yeah, that's gone.
It's gone.
There was a church running around. Yeah, that's gone.
It's not gone. It's over there somewhere.
Yeah, all of the buildings are either gone or severely damaged. We're driving through this area, and it felt like a bomb went off, and you're now in the middle of driving through this debris and all this other stuff. You never heard a bus so quiet in your life. And once we got out of Jackson, everyone was still, man. I mean, now we're thinking, okay, how many people lost their life in this? What are the chances of the damage and whatnot? We met at the ballpark. We knew that the damage at the ballpark was minimal at best, but that was tough.
Those are the instances when a sports team, even the small ones like Jackson Minor League, can be a very positive impact to their community.
Yeah. The next homestand, we did some things, and it was, under the circumstances, it was tough. But the people in Jackson, it's not the first time they've gone through something like that. I think it was a year or two after I left, another tornado went through the area that I lived in, that neighborhood. Where the college, Union University, one of the nicer colleges, it's a real small college, but one of the nicer colleges, a lot of those buildings were heavily damaged or destroyed. It was tough to see that, but yeah, that's the one and only time I've gone through a tornado, and I don't want to ever do that again. That was tough.
There's a reason big tornadoes are called the finger of God, because they just kind of sweep right through.
They're like through a nice little path.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who lives in Tuscaloosa when the F5 came through, and he couldn't believe that the amount of damage that was done by this thing, and
those can be like a mile-long funnel.
Yeah, this was a 1.5 miles wide.
Forget it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But kind of like and I remember this because I was out of high school, and the folks in Trumbull County will remember May 31st, 1985 forever and a day, especially if you lived in Niles. That was an F5 tornado, and that was a legit, very large, very dangerous, very catastrophic tornado. And on the southern end, when I grew up in Leetonia, we had a couple of smaller tornadoes that went through the countryside of Leetonia, outside the village limits, heading toward Lisbon. And one of those tornadoes took down a barn that had a basketball court, a full-size regulation basketball court inside this barn, and it just tore it up. It was scary. It was really scary.
I just looked it up because I was interested. The largest recorded tornado in U.S. history was in Oklahoma. It was 2.5 miles wide. Was the funnel?
Yeah. No, thank you.
No.
I mean, that's just to give you an idea of how large that funnel would be. If you are familiar with the walking trails of Mill Creek on 224, over by the golf course.
3-mile trek.
Over by the golf course. And again, a special hello to Mr. Tolnar, and we'll talk with him on Wednesday. If you were to start the funnel or the width, you would have to go past the 1.5 miles, past Shields Road, and go into another 0.5 mile further down the trail. And that would be how wide this funnel would be. That's just absurd. And speaking of, Mother Nature just decided to throw down a rather large thunder.
Of Brian Tolnar, because let's just give a little taste of golf before Wednesday, because my boy Webb.
Yeah, you picked Webb Simpson a week early, bro. Yeah, he wins the golf tournament.
I feel like Good Luck Chuck. Have you seen that movie with Dane Cook?
Yeah.
The whole premise is like if he's with a woman, the next guy that she's with, they marry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me.
Yeah. I'm Good Luck Chuck to the major league broadcasters. Anyone that has worked with me goes to the major leagues, except for me. I just don't get that one at all. Yeah, it was very, very bizarre.
So, DeChambeau, you better bet on him the next week because he's probably going to win.
Well, I mean, we haven't established a pattern yet.
No, but
I mean, it's more of a coincidence right now. But if DeChambeau does happen to win this event, I'm thinking that we might be on to something. Just saying. Yeah, we'll have Brian on Wednesday. We'll preview.
I mean, what a weekend, because so many golfers were clustered between 14 under and 17 under going into Sunday. It was a lot of people had really good weekends. It was going to be a tough one to win.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Jason Kokrak was not one of those. He failed to meet the cut.
Your boy Jason Day Justin Thomas wasn't up there either.
Yeah, he wound up 5 shots off the pace. I mean,
which is good considering the first day he had.
Yeah, the first day was not good. It was not good at all. So my picks are about as lousy as your picks. I mean, at least you had your guy from last week winning this week,
right?
So.
I just picked him a week early.
Yeah. I had Rory blow up in the 4th round a couple of weeks ago.
Didn't do bad.
No, he did well. He did very well. So we'll see what happens this week. We'll preview the upcoming stop on the PGA Tour with Brian Tolnar on Wednesday. And hopefully we'll get some more guests here during the course of the week as well. We're going to take a final timeout. Be back to wrap it up. It's a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Hey, my Ohio friends, it's Mike Ditka, and I know great talent and heart when I see it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are average real estate agents, then there are true champions. Kelly Warren is one of those champions, and you have her right there in your own backyard. Kelly outmarkets and outsells every agent in the Mahoning Valley. If Kelly can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Kelly will buy it. Get your home sold. Call Kelly Warren today at 717-2689 or go online to kellysoda.com and start packing.
You can feel it. Baird Brothers' traditional craftsmanship. You can see it, Baird Brothers' timeless style. And you can afford it and find everything at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is real hardwood, yet beautifully affordable. Floors, moldings, interior doors, bar rails, and stair parts, all within your means and without a care. Start at BairdBrothers.com. You have made it your home.
Teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Mr. Anthony Hartwig. I would be very remiss if I did not wish a happy first anniversary to two really, really special people. Bryce and Lauren Franken celebrating their first wedding anniversary today. 1 year ago today, they were married at St. Jude Catholic Church in Columbiana, and a really cool reception. Mm-hmm. And that was a good time. Very, very good time. And they are expecting their first child late this year. And when we find out the sex of the baby, I suppose we'll let everyone know when the family knows. So congratulations to Bryce and Lauren Franken, the first year anniversary. So very cool.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep.
You made it a year.
Yeah, you made it a year. So if you had less than a year on your betting pool, you lose. So there you go.
Ron, I owe you $20.
Oh, you need to stop that right now. Yeah, and I didn't know about any of this stuff until mine was over, and someone looked at me and go, well, "How many years were you married?" I'll look at him and I'm like, "I don't, I mean, why do I have to say that?" Well, I had it on a poll that this would only last this long. I mean, what kind of a sick person are you to do something like that? And if you would have told me, depending on how much money you bet, I would have probably,
stuck it out a little
bit longer and screwed you out of the money. That's disgusting. Ay. So there you go. No, so in all seriousness, Bryce and Lauren, 1 year in the books, and that was fun. That was their wedding. Their wedding reception was fun, and looking forward to many, many more years. So congratulations, Bryce and Lauren.
And on that note,
I thought you were going.
I thought you were going to finish it.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were going somewhere.
No.
Do you have news that maybe you're planning on doing something like that?
Mm-hmm.
No. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were going to be doing breaking news here.
No. I don't have any more breaking news. The breaking news we have is that Scene Park is canceled tonight.
I mean, you had this dead silent there, and
right.
and other news, I was thinking
I only said that to break the dead silence because we were sitting looking at each other like, okay.
I was thinking that maybe Anthony was about ready to announce that he's engaged. I don't know. I mean, you don't expect me to do that anytime soon. I did that once.
Once is enough.
Well, I don't want to say once is enough, but maybe in another lifetime we can do something like that. But yeah, not anytime soon. That's not going to happen. Not going to happen anytime soon.
Going to be reincarnated, Ron?
That's the world kind of hopes that's not the case. It's kind of like I jokingly say this. I tell people, because I didn't have any kids, I tell people I saved the world of future people that are the spitting image of me.
Right.
I mean, let's face it.
Well,
people when they meet me, they're like, yeah, you speak your mind. I said, yep. And, I didn't have any kids, so that's another generation of kids that are not going to be speaking their mind from my side of things. So I saved the world of that.
And, the whole adage is that everyone has their own doppelganger, so maybe there's some other Ron Podesta out there that's going to keep the legacy going.
That's a frightening thought.
I know.
Yeah, that's a. But then again, I wonder two things. I wonder if that person likes Lorna Doones as much as I do.
Probably not. I don't think anyone likes Lorna Doones as much as you do.
And I wonder if he is, or she, well, it can't be a she. I wonder if he is as slow as I am running a 40. So,
questions you'll have to ask if you ever stumble in a bar and see someone that looks just like you.
Oh God! By the way, if you have not seen DJ's production skills on my 40, you go to ysnlive.com. You'll get a kick out of it. Although I can tell where the slow motion started. I mean, it's kind of tough to do.
Only because the music kicked in and told you that.
Pretty much, yeah. It's kind of tough to do. I was kind of hoping they would have sped it up a little bit.
But I bet if you put it on mute, and then it might be hard to tell.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
then the Chariots of Fire doesn't kick in.
Yeah, the Chariots of Fire doesn't kick in, and then, boy. Yeah, that was I want to get lower than 7.9, but I'm good with it, I guess. All right, that'll do it for a Monday edition of Running Point. We will talk on Wednesday. Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek will be calling in at 1 o'clock, and we will preview the upcoming PGA event, and we'll also talk some more B-League and hopefully, fingers crossed, get some guests to expound upon what in the heck is going on in Major League Baseball.
Brian will have his third tip. Tip number 3.
I have it written down. Both of them are written down, so... I haven't gone golfing since the tips, but can't wait. Got to get on the golf course.
The next time you get on, you'll have 3 tips, and you'll be like, oh, okay.
There you go. My game around the green and on the green should be much better based on these tips, and hopefully we can do a pretty decent job. So we'll see. That'll be coming up on Wednesday. Thanks for the phone calls. We'll do it again Wednesday. Have a great rest of the afternoon, everyone. You've been listening to Running Point on ysnlive.com.